Welcome, everybody, to episode number 31 of the Dragon's Den podcast. We are live here on YouTube and on Rumble and on my Facebook page. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. My name is Eric Hopkins, a.k.a. Jill, joined tonight by Sir Spoobies III, Miranda Nicole, and Matthew 24 down in the bottom right. And hopefully Aaron will be joining us as usual here. Got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Before we get too started, though, how's everybody doing?
Not bad, you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. I'm ready for a short week next week so I can have 4 days off for Thanksgiving. That's what I'm ready for.
Yeah.
But before we get too involved here with this episode, I wanted to do a special thank you to the over 1,000 people who watched our stream last week. Between Rumble and my Facebook page itself alone, not counting YouTube or Twitter, wherever else you can see our show, we had over 1,000 people who tuned in to apparently watch our reaction to the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight, at least, if nothing else. So regardless of what you tuned in for last week, hope you guys enjoyed the show. Hope you guys returned this week and every week thereafter. But obviously, I don't expect to hit those numbers every single week. But hey, we're approaching CNN levels of viewership now, so we can actually take that as a prize. So yeah, that's awesome.
That bar is not very high, Eric.
No, it's not. But you know what? I'll take what I can get at this point. So yeah, what's going on with you guys? Anything cool?
No, I mean, other than obvious.
Yeah. Go Hoosiers.
All right.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about the Hoosiers and the Ohio State Buckeyes here before the show's out. As you can tell from the side Chiron there, we're going to be getting all that. We got all sorts of stuff to talk about tonight. Got some pro wrestling, a couple movie trailers we go over, some sports, and of course we're going to end the show with our politics, some good and some bad tonight in that regard. So we'll get into that later on as well. Mike's in the chat as always. Thank you so much for joining us, Mike.
What's up, Mike?
Evening, everyone. Thanks to everyone for the positive vibes for my girl last week. All went well, and she came home Wednesday from her surgery. So yes, good to hear that. Absolutely great. Yeah, no doubt about it. So yes, hope things continue to go well there, and don't have to have. Hopefully, you don't have to have that happen again where you have to have surgery. So stay good. But yeah. All right. Well, like I said, we got a lot to talk about. We're trying to get out of here relatively early tonight because, like I said, the big football game tomorrow. We're all wanting to get together and go watch it. So let's get right into some of these topics, and let's kick off with some pro wrestling news. Actually, we got a little bit of that to talk about tonight. So the first thing I thought we'd talk a little bit about is since we're not going to be having a show next week, obviously due to the Thanksgiving holiday, I thought it would be kind of cool to go over the upcoming pay-per-views for AEW. That's going to be this Saturday, tomorrow. And of course, next weekend, WWE's got a pay-per-view on Saturday for Survivor Series. So let's go over a couple of those. Before we get into that, AEW did have a little bit of news this week. I thought we'd at least discuss a little bit. It has now been announced that AEW is expected to run shows in smaller buildings starting in 2025. This does not include their pay-per-views. The pay-per-views will remain in larger buildings, and especially All In will be in the stadiums and stuff like that. But for their weekly shows, Dynamite and Collision, we'll see where Rampage falls in this with the new Warner Brothers deal and all that sort of stuff. But for those weekly shows, it sounds like they're going to be running in smaller buildings. And in my opinion, I think this is something they probably should have done a while ago. I mean, you're running in buildings, set up for, 10 or 1,000 or more, and you're only getting like 3,000 to 4,000 people, or sometimes even less. Sometimes it just makes the audio sound worse. It also has kind of comes off as being a little bit, like you can't fill the building as much. So I think if you run smaller buildings, it will give that element to the show to make it look a lot better and the presentation be better with a louder atmosphere. But what are your guys' thoughts on that? I know Brandon might have an opinion on that for sure.
I want to hear what Brandon says.
I mean, it's a smart move. I mean, I don't know if this is indicative of anything other than just what? Didn't they just sign that TV deal?
Yeah, and it's a pretty big size deal for them. I can't remember the exact dollar value. You'd have to ask, but it's one of those deals too where, like, if they don't get as many tickets like in the weekly shows, I think they've pretty much been paid up front, kind of like WWE's big deal with Peacock at one point. So I think that is probably factoring a little bit into this decision as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think AEW's in any major trouble of dying anytime soon. But I mean, TNA's run small buildings for a long time. I mean, ECW used to do it back in the day. It's not unheard of to do this sort of thing, in my opinion.
No.
So I don't think it's necessarily going to be bad for the brand, but they are in a bit of a slump right now. That is for sure. And I think hopefully they'll get things corrected going into next year. But I think it's a strong step forward. But any other thoughts on that?
I mean, no. I mean, it'll look better on TV that way, But I think as a company, this is a whether it's a financial move or, I mean, it just makes sense for your TVs, then, I mean, again, they signed that big ass TV deal, so got to be doing something right.
Mike asked in the chat, Brandon, what do you feel has caused the struggling ticket sales for AEW?
Honestly,
would you say content, Brandon?
no, I don't think AEW's issue is content. I think it's lack of continuity or sometimes payoff with some of the storylines.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think sometimes it's the build. Sometimes maybe isn't as strong as
yeah.
Are always solid. Pay-per-views are always fun. Great matches. A lot of times, in my opinion, I think they have decent payoff. But yeah, the build sometimes isn't always consistent. Or like, for instance, let's just say recently they have a storyline with Chris Statlander challenging Mercedes Moné tomorrow at the pay-per-view for her AEW one of the women's titles they got over there. And Chris Statlander for all of the summer was a heel and was going against Willow Nightingale.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, Chris Statlander's just a babyface now because Mercedes Moné needs a contender. Doesn't make much sense.
That was the same thing with Tony Storm, and I can't remember the one lady's name, but she came back and she was on stage giving this promo of how she overcame some disease or whatever the case was, and the crowd was just booing the shit out of her. And then they just like that. She was supposed to be the babyface, obviously, and Tony was supposed to be the heel.
Everybody loved Tony so much.
But yeah, that was an issue.
And sometimes heels have that issue where fans just love them so much, you know.
But you still could have ran with that whole idea while putting forth the narrative that this is your heel, this is your babyface. Yeah. And then in the middle of it, one week she was heel or babyface, and then another week she was heel. That it tends to, I don't know, it pushes people away because it's like the whole thing with wrestling is supposed to be about immersion, right? It's why, you know, and once you break the illusion, it's kind of like, all right, whatever. You know what I mean? Like it holds no more interest over you because now you're like, all right, it's, and I think too, and I've said this to you before, and I'm not shitting on any of this because if you ask me, independent wrestling to me is one of the best forms of wrestling to watch. I've said this 1,000 times. But I think that's AEW's issue. It's like a highly syndicated indie show.
Well, and that was the thing too. Like, part of it is presentation, in my opinion, because I don't know, it was a couple months back or whatever. AEW also had, like WWE has now implemented, the video LED boards around the ring on the apron or on the barricades, right? AEW just all of a sudden stopped using them, and I was like, I kind of like the aesthetic. I know they don't want to be like just copying WWE. I get that too.
But if a formula works, it works.
Yeah, I mean, do you think WWE didn't take some you know, stuff from WCW back in the day when it was working? I mean,
think of DX and the NWO.
Yeah. So
you can say what you want to say. DX was a direct carbon copy of the NWO.
Well, even some of the camera tricks and stuff that AEW and WWE both do, I don't know who stole them from who, but they're both very similar with some of the backstage stuff and coming out to the ringside area and things like that. So there's some stuff that they're kind of taking from one another.
They stole that shit from soap operas.
Yeah. I mean, well, hell, even, you know, it like the NFL stole like that, you know, the cameras on the wires away from the XFL that Vince implemented. So, I mean, this isn't unheard of for companies to do that. But I just felt like whenever they took away those video boards, it kind of took away something from AEW a little bit. Because I don't know, maybe it's just like, ooh, you know, shiny, you know, colors and flashing images and whatnot. But maybe they wanted to get back to what AEW began being. I guess I can understand that. But at the same time, if it's like you said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So,
and again, I'm not shitting on this company because there's a lot of guys in AEW that I thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah,
love to watch. Glad they're free to do what they want to do there. Totally fine. But there's an issue with that. If you make every match a spot fest, then that's what it becomes. So then when it actually happens,
that's what I was asking
at a pay-per-view where it's supposed to be that, it's just a regular Monday night thing. Or not Monday night. You get Wednesday night. So it's like, if your crowd is so used to seeing it and getting these big pops for shit, then when they're supposed to get a big pop for something, it's not.
Yeah.
So again, you make it's like with anything at first, unless you get to sink their teeth into it, or you hook them in with something. Once that novelty wears off, it wears off.
Well, and it's interesting too.
Hat. And I've said the same thing about WWE. Like there was a huge time, especially in the Attitude Era. You can only appeal to 13, 14-year-old boys with half-naked women on the TV for so long before it becomes a thing where you're over it. Once you see a pair of boobs, you're like, all right, got it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it kind of wears out its welcome. And that's my one huge criticism with this is like, I wish you would pull it back some. You know, and build me up to those moments.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not going to sit here and say like they don't have storytelling, because I think they do. There was actually a great video they released this week that was like set to Guns N' Roses' November Rain, leading up into this pay-per-view. It was like an 8-minute video of like all their storylines for this upcoming pay-per-view tomorrow. And I thought it did a great job of highlighting how the storylines have been going on, long-term booking, like over the last year for a lot of these instances. So I think they've done a good job of doing that. Sometimes people I just think don't, think about it in the moment and are like, well, they just don't tell stories. But if you go back and look at it, they actually have. But that's not where it is for me. But one of the interesting things that they did talk about with this new announcement where they're running smaller buildings, they said that AEW is also going to be probably a lot of weeks either doing their Collision tapings on Thursday night or the same day as Dynamite. So you'll be having double taping. So in a way, that'll be good because all the roster will be under one roof pretty much every single week. And you can maybe even have some bigger names on maybe your Collision shows and vice versa. But if that's the case, to me, I don't think you need to have quite as much of a roster split. I mean, there's really not one, for per se. But at the same time, it feels like both shows have their certain talents on each show. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, but that can also be an issue. I mean, think about
it can be.
when. And roster split, listen, far be it from any WWE fan to judge a roster split or how that means fucking nothing, because WWE is notorious for that shit. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand if your champion migrates from show to show, as he should, because he's your champion. I get that. You may be the champion on that brand, but you're the champion of that company, period.
Right.
So in that regard, I get, and I get why you have the bloodline here and there too between the two, because literally one of their stars is one of your biggest stars on one show, and vice versa. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, I understand that part, but like with the AEW thing, I think you should have put more emphasis on the brand split. And there's a way to do it to where you could take a lot of your guys who are popular on Dynamite and move them to Collision, and you make Collision feel bigger or not on par with Dynamite, right?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
And so then it'll be like what SmackDown and Raw originally felt like when that happened. When it was a brand split before they called it a brand split. And when it was just the Rock show, you know what I mean? Like, it felt way more important. You felt like you had to tune in to Friday Night SmackDown. You know what I mean? Because you were like, yo, it's going down. Like, you had your storylines on Raw that were totally separate from your storylines on SmackDown. Now, there was some crossover depending on who the champion was at the time. Like Taker, he was on Raw, but then he had no problem being on SmackDown for whatever.
Wasn't that the whole reason why they had AEW to begin with, Brandon? Was because the champion never showed up. I mean, Brock Lesnar was AFK most of the time.
Well, that was, if you're talking about Vince's booking, yes, because sometimes,
it was AFK.
But now that Vince doesn't book the shows and Triple H is booking the shows, the shows are better. So a lot of fans are like, well, we don't need AEW now because WWE is just good to watch.
Triple H's, I have to admit, Triple H's booking seems seems like to me it makes a little more sense.
Oh, it does.
It does, but look.
But it makes sense to his liking, not to the fans' liking.
AEW
it was under Vince. I think Hunter's works for the fans.
Yeah.
Yes.
AEW, when it was first brought up, was, I believe, an argument between Dave Meltzer and
it was like a bet that
Cody.
Yeah, because Dave's like, you can't do it. Cody's like, I'll take that bet.
And just to prove him wrong.
Yeah. And
everybody rallied behind that. Like, everybody was like, yo, I gotta see this. We talked about it for weeks and weeks until the first All In show. And that show was amazing, except for the end when they got cut off for time or whatever the fuck. But anyway, it was a dope show. So then when they were talking about Dynamite it becoming a thing, he was all on board. Everybody was, because WWE was absolute ass at the time. And so AEW, it filled a hole. It filled a slot, a need. But then again, like I said, I just think the nuance of it wore off.
Yeah, they got to reinvent themselves a bit.
It's not really, but it's not really reinvention. Just clean some things up, man.
That too. And I think they're trying to do that. I think they pretty much ignite. Even this John Moxley storyline is kind of like, we need to get back to AEW to what it once was, because Moxley's on in characters like, I don't like the AEW that this has become. So I think they're kind of playing into it a little bit with the storyline. We'll have to wait and see where it goes. Mike sent in a few more chats. He said, do you feel Mercedes Monet's AEW run has been a little lackluster? Yeah, I can see it. It's not what it was in like WWE when she was Sasha Banks. There for a while, I was kind of like, well, you got to give her a little time. She's been out of wrestling for a while. She was hurt. You got to get her, she's got to get the rust off. But now that she's been back for a while, there's not really a whole lot going on there. And I wonder how much of that is because she does book her own storylines. I think they've given her that freedom.
Yeah, but that was also, too, one of those letdowns with the whole Britt Baker thing. Like, that went no fucking where. And they had a subpar to mediocre match at best. And then it just died. Which should have been one of your biggest storylines involving this title, and it was just absolute. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know. I think AEW's issue gets compounded by a lot of other things, and I think about like Okada. He looks nothing like the Okada that I showed you guys, that I introduced.
Yeah. Even I've been like, he's not what he was in New Japan for sure. But neither Shinsuke Nakamura, who we're going to talk about in a little bit too.
You're right, but
Shinsuke was a big disappointment.
He was great in NXT.
He was good in NXT.
We're gonna find out what Hunter's going to do with him now that he's got him back on SmackDown, which we're going to talk about. But yeah,
on the big show.
But with Okada though, like Okada's way younger than Shinsuke is. Nakamura said in plenty of interviews he's done everything in wrestling that he wanted to accomplish.
He wants to he
wants to surf and have fun. That's it. That's all he cares about.
Yeah, fair enough. He's spent his life, destroying his body enough. I think he's earned a little R&R.
AJ said the same. AJ said, well, minus the surfing part. AJ said the same thing. Like, everybody has a bump card. I told you this before, and like my issue, and it drives me crazy because I pop for the shit too. But at the same time, everybody has a bump card, and it's like there's a lot of times in AEW these guys go there, and it's like the Wild West on what they can do, and they just keep punching that fucking card. And I don't give a shit how good your story is if you can't tell it in the ring without doing all the crazy shit. Like, I love Darby Allin. Like, I truly fucking do. But that punch card has been punched numerous times, both in and outside of the fucking ring.
He's going to be flirting with disaster if he keeps it up.
And like I said, I love him. I'm glad he gets to showcase what he does. But it's the same way I felt, I guess, about Tua. You're going to play. You know the risk. That's your decision.
I love what Tua said, though.
It's his decision.
Oh, yeah.
I know this is getting off topic of wrestling, but yeah, I thought that was the way to say that. As far as AEW goes, I don't feel the want that how a WWE brings in their tradition, their family. That how they open their shows, where it shows like all the years.
Oh, from the years past. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't feel that pull with AEW.
It's kind of hard to do when you're only 5 years old company.
But I get what he's saying. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's a lot of.
I don't feel the come watch me factor with AEW. You know what I mean?
And unfortunately, AEW can't compete with that in that regard.
No,
right? They just can't.
There's no way.
No.
WWE/WWF, they have lineage. They've been in the game way longer. They literally, that company superseded two companies and bottom out.
Brandon and Eric, you have to agree with me. The AEW's missing that Grand Slam match that one that's gonna get like remember
they've had some, but it's
no, but
you
look.
remember when they had Andre and Hulk Hogan and like everybody and their
you may
brother
never top that.
No,
I know
hold on.
What I'm saying is they need superstars.
You could have got that from two of your guys, and I know with an injury and he's out. I think he's supposed to be coming back sometime soon.
Right.
Who's that?
Kenny.
Yeah. I mean, they're kind of. I kind of think he's doing something in the storyline. Him, Tony Storm, and I think if you're like, oh, AEW's fine, they don't need me, but we know Kenny. I think took a trip down to New Japan. I think he's going to be wrestling at maybe one of their shows in early January. So I think he is on the road back. I think he'll be back sooner rather than later.
To Matt's point, AEW, okay. You've seen the matches Okada and Kenny had. I've shown you the matches Okada and Kenny had. They had, what was it, 4 of them that we watched leading to the last Wrestle Kingdom or whatever that they did. And those were hands down some of the best storytelling in a match that you could watch. And it had the big high spots. It had the ooh moments. It had the oh my God moments. It had those crazy kickouts where you thought it was fucking over numerous times.
Yeah.
They could have had that. But like the way that they built, it's the same way I feel like when they brought in a lot of these guys from WWE. I get it. These were disgruntled people. And they did the thing that Stone Cold did when he went to ECW. He vented out his frustrations to people, and he was free to do so because ECW was the home of, you know what I mean? So like that's what people wanted to see. But eventually that shit wore out his welcome, and you saw where he ended up.
Yeah.
So like in this aspect, it's the same thing. I get it. You were pissed off at the way you were handled. Now the thing is, you go there and you spend the next 2 weeks bashing the company you worked for. That shit got old.
Mm-hmm.
If you would have spent that time taking those guys who were very established somewhere else and using them to their talents and taking those stories, Hobbs is fucking phenomenal for a guy his size.
And I think they're about to use him again.
That about to do shit is what I'm talking about.
Well, he was out with injury for the last 6 months, so I mean, you can't do much with him.
Even before, but you had a lot of time before then too. Is what I'm saying is like, you get these guys like
Wardlow's the greatest example. That was a big missed opportunity.
Hell, the Murder Hawk. That's not.
They're starting to use him a little more now too.
He had a thing. They were pushing him for a while, and then they dropped him. That's what I'm saying. It's
you're not wrong with that.
Like, it's a start and stop situation. They did it with Miro like 3 or 4 times.
And part of that is due to the fact that unlike in WWE, where their guys are solely signed to WWE, you're not allowed to work. Well, not normally, unless you have a special thing. But normally, you only work for WWE. AEW's got guys going to do, and I know WWE sometimes doesn't do movies or things like that, but AEW's got people doing movies. They're wrestling in Mexico. They're going to New Japan. So a lot of times, these guys who should be on the show every single week are not. And I think that affects the overall storytelling. Yeah. So some of it's just rest, I think, sometimes too. They're trying to get new people over, but you got to have some consistency too. And I think sometimes that plays with it.
Yeah, but their pay-per-views are fucking phenomenal. I can't take, and I don't take anything away from the weekly shows. If you're just going to watch,
solid.
It is, you know what I'm saying? So like, I think what hurt a lot of things with wrestling was the lost art of actual storytelling. And then for 4 years, we got that. And it was on one show. Nobody gave a shit about Raw, which is your marquee show. Everybody was locked in on SmackDown.
And now Dynamite, as much as I still love Dynamite and Collision, but Collision's definitely the wrestling show. There's some storylines on it. Dynamite's where your major storylines take place, but even there, they're not hitting like they once were as much. Yeah. You know, it's still driving the main narrative, but it's just not must-see television like it was when Vince was dropping the ball over there. We got a couple comments here, and then I want to get into the pay-per-views real quick so we keep this moving along here so we don't want to stay on wrestling all night long.
Sorry.
That's fine. Micah said, what has happened to FTR? I heard they had their push stalled because they supported CM Punk. I don't know if that's true or not. I know that for the most part, FTR has been, in these matches with a lot of younger tag team talents on AEW because they've been very vocal about how they want to get some new young stars over in the company before they retire. So I think part of that is due to that. I don't think they've been, thwarted due to their support of CM Punk.
But do you see the issue though? Like, honestly, You had a team like FTR, like
who did win the World Tag Team titles there. You know, I think maybe.
And then again, too, they also have ROH. You want to talk about lineage and fucking a lot like.
There's Brandon's next or Mike's next question. Do you feel AEW dropped the ball with Ring of Honor?
Yeah, 1,000%.
So far, I can't disagree with that. It's not must-see television.
Like, and that's crazy because ROH used to be the place to fucking be.
I mean, don't get me wrong. They've had some solid pay-per-views and things like that, but their weekly shows in Ring of Honor, outside of, freaking Ember Moon. Well, I can't remember.
Which is crazy work. Why isn't she on?
I know. Why is she not one of the mainstays on AEW television?
Dynamite.
Athena, yeah. Why is she not running the women's division on the main roster, I guess you could call it? In AEW. I don't quite get that one myself. So yeah, that's again missed opportunities.
Like I said, I'm not trying to shit on the company. I'm not trying to shit on anybody making money either. Wrestling is a hard business to get into, let alone maintain a career or turn it into a career. So like, kudos to everybody who can do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, hopefully they'll get the things turned around. But I do think this card on Saturday for Full Gear is really solid, and I think some of the storytelling has been pretty decent. The one thing I can't understand why they're doing is this stupid pre-show match. I
thought QT Marshall left.
Well, I thought he did too, actually, but for whatever reason,
he was like a
fucking.
What is this? Oh, these are the guys that Pat McAfee talk about.
They're on YouTube, which I understand why AEW is doing it, because WWE's done this sort of thing too, where you get somebody who's very popular on social media or whatever, you bring them in, do something with them, and to try to drive
but
viewers.
He actually wrestles for the company.
Who? Big Boom AJ?
No,
I know QT. I'm talking about Big Boom AJ and Big.
No, Justin. I'm talking about the guy you're talking about. That's the big media star or social media star that wrestles in the company. Yeah, but that he is actually a wrestler in the company.
Oh, you're talking about QT? Well, I'm talking
about Jake Paul. Logan Paul.
Well, I'm talking about this match in particular. Right,
I'm just saying you used it as a comparison.
All right,
we're talking
enough, and I thought Jake Paul or Logan Paul's done a pretty decent job.
Yeah, no, fuck Jake Paul. I got nothing but smoke for him. Athletic. Period.
Oh, yeah, 0 hour? Are you talking about?
I can't wait for him to get his ass beat.
Sorry.
Tyson should have beat him, but that's another story.
Yeah. Sit on my ass. He did a couple times. Jake, you a bitch. You a whole bitch.
So this pre-show match notwithstanding, I get why they're doing it. They're trying to drive viewers, fine, but maybe it's because I'm not hip or with it. I don't know who these guys are.
Damn well you didn't say hip or with it.
Whatever. Dating myself there, but no. I mean, maybe it appeals to somebody. I hope it does, because I hope it, whatever it is, it'll drive viewers. I'm not going to watch this. I'm going to.
Only reason I even know that Big Boom AJ and Big Justin,
I think they were on WWE at one point recently too. Were they not?
I have no fucking idea.
I thought they might have been.
It was because of Pat McAfee's show. That is the only reason I know anything about these guys. Not just Pat McAfee's show. I think I heard about him originally on the Pod, which is a spinoff with the guys who are on Pat's show. They have their own podcast, and they were talking about it. You're right. It's the same reason why WWE brought Pete Rose, Cyndi Lauper.
Oh yeah, I mean, I get it.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
AEW brought Mike Tyson. He fell asleep at ringside.
Yeah, Jelly Roll, choke slam, fucking Austin Theory. Hell of a choke slam, by the way. Austin sold his ass off.
Yeah.
For that.
So I don't know. I'm glad they're trying to take a swing here.
But I hope it's not going to be long. I really do.
As for the main show, I think we've got, what is that, about 10 matches on the main card. Run it down real quickly. John Moxley versus Orange Cassidy for the AEW World Title. Swerve Strickland versus Bobby Lashley. Could be interesting. Chris Statlander versus Mercedes Moné, as we mentioned, for the TBS Championship. The TNT title with Jack Perry defending against Daniel Garcia, another guy they're trying to push, I think.
I have something to say about that.
Okay, well, we'll get to it in a second.
Yeah.
Konosuke Takeshita versus Ricochet. About said Rikishi. Versus AEW for the AEW International Championship. We got the AEW World Tag Team titles in a 4-way match with the Kings of the Black Throne, Private Party, the Outrunners, who's definitely hit the popularity stride here, and the Acclaimed, who I think are about to break up. We got Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher. That's going to be an outstanding match. Jay White, Hangman Adam Page could also be a show stealer. MJF versus Roderick Strong, when I'm sure Adam Cole will be involved there. And Mariah May will finally have her Champagne Championship celebration with Mina Shirakawa, which I'm assuming we'll finally see the return of Toni Storm, possibly here to break that up. I'm not sure. But overall, this is solid when it comes to the matches and everything, in my opinion.
Two things.
Who are them dudes with the mustaches?
The Outrunners.
There's a
they're
lot of
80s
mustaches.
wrestling personified. So, like, if you ever watch wrestling in the 80s,
dudes.
that's kind of what they go for.
That's
So-
really cool. I like
Turbo
that.
Floyd and I can't remember the other guy's name off the top.
That's a cool little gimmick.
Yeah.
Another build to a match eventually, and that was marred by an injury for sure. Is
Adam
a whole
Cole?
MJF and Adam Cole thing.
Yeah. And I think if it would make more sense to hold that off till the December pay-per-view, because that would be 1 year since the whole thing went
Dude,
down.
this well is starting to run dry.
Yeah, they got to end it at that point. But again, it was another one of those deals where, like, when the feud started, MJF was the babyface, Adam Cole became the devil,
Well,
and
Yeah.
now because of the injury, obviously they're not going to boo Adam Cole when he comes back, so they flipped it, which probably makes more sense with MJF.
But
being
it
the heel role,
derailed
but
everything.
It did, and it's unfortunate when he shattered his ankle. There's nothing you can do about that.
Now,
But
the Swerve Strickland and Bobby Lashley, I picked up a little bit of their beef or whatever the case is. Fine, that'll be a good one. It should be a good one.
I think
Strickland can work.
further the Hurt Syndicate growing even further.
Yeah, but I'm so sick of this whole thing with Strickland just getting dog walked by people, but he's still supposed to be a heel and believable at times. You know what I'm saying?
He's kind of riding that Braun Breaker vibe a little bit, where he's not a heel or a babyface. He just
But you can't just keep dog walking him either, and then expect me to believe that he gonna do any of the shit he says he's gonna do to me.
Yeah, fair.
But I love Swerve Strickland. First of all, he has one of the best.
I think it'll be a good
entrances
match. I do.
and ever. You know, Swerve when I drive, I pop for that shit every time. Prince Nana.
We did the Trump dance the other week. Now we're doing the swerve. So yeah.
I like the Will Ospreay.
This whole Jack Perry
be good.
situation. I'm over it. I get the whole scapegoat thing, but I'm over it now.
Well, Jack Perry's, it's kind of weird because Okada and the Young Bucks basically have not been on television. I think Okada's coming back this next month because of the Continental Classic that's about to start up. He is the Continental Champion, so it makes sense. But yeah, the Young Bucks, ever since Moxley took the show over with his crew with the Death Riders, the Young Bucks just disappeared. So the Elite's kind of not there with Jack Perry now. And now Jack Perry, I think, is going to lose that title to Daniel Garcia. They're trying to build him up.
Daniel
so
Garcia,
that makes 100% sense. I don't think that. I wouldn't think Kenosuke Takeshi is going to lose the title to Ricochet just yet.
Not yet.
But it should be a hell of a match.
Yeah. And I know they're going to end up giving this to the Kings of the Black Throne. Dope fucking name, by the way.
I don't know. Private Party just won those titles. You think they lose the title already?
It's either that or they're going to have to appease Malachi at some point. They have not done much.
Well, that's another one they've kind of dropped the ball
this
on, which I'm
fucking
not. He should be challenging for the world title. And you know what I'm saying?
And Brody King should also be there. Like, it is crazy work.
Yeah,
like
singles.
Brody is fuck. And then
hell, Buddy Murphy too.
Buddy Murphy, Buddy Matthews, whatever the hell he goes by.
Matthews. Yeah, Matthews.
But like,
I agree. But yeah, those are just some of the small. And like I said, I'm interested to see where this Acclaim thing goes too. They're definitely setting up Max Caster as if he wants to kind of break off on his own, claiming he's the greatest wrestler of all time, which, you know,
Kyle Fletcher
but
should beat Will Ospreay.
You would think. I would think Ospreay would put him over to kind of give him that rub. Yeah, so there's definitely some possibilities there. And I hope Jay White gets a win here too. He's another guy they need to push hard as a singles competitor as well. So all in all, though, if booked properly, I think it could be a good solid show. And
I think two matches for me I'm not interested in.
Mercedes and Chris Statlander just doesn't have much to it.
Nope.
That's one. And I hate to say that because it is the only female match on the show from the looks of things.
Yeah, and I'm not interested in this whole party either.
Oh, the celebration thing. Yeah. Again, that's paid off a storyline they never really paid off. She said she was going to wait till the right moment to have it, but it's been, a while now since she won the title. It's like you're having a championship celebration for a title you've been holding for weeks or maybe even months at this point. So yeah, it's a little weird, but we'll see if they do the Tony Storm return since that thing at that point. But yeah,
but I think the only male match that probably won't be that great, and this is me being especially held up to any of the other ones, is the Jack Perry and Daniel Garcia.
You don't think?
No, maybe even
it could.
Maybe it's Strickland and Lashley, because Takeshita's a hell of a wrestler. Ricochet can sell his ass off.
Oh yeah. That could be another show stealer. I mean, a lot
everybody in this tag match is good.
I just want to know where they're taking the John Moxley storyline. Obviously, he's the world champion. He's trying to destroy the company that exists now because he's not fond of it. I don't know if Shane McMahon's going to end up being a thing with that or not.
That's going to be your payoff. You're going to hear a version of "Here Comes the Money."
I mean, that would at least get me interested. more than I already am because
But
it's
then
like,
what do you do? What's the angle?
I don't know.
Are you going to do the
I really
angle
don't.
of WWE buying AEW? That means WWE's got to be on board with it. Shane can't just throw that fucking name around.
Elon
His
Musk
real name, I think he can.
No, not McMahon. I'm talking about WWE.
Well, he may not say those words, but
Elon Musk can buy both of them. So
he's going to buy everything. So Elon's going to own the world. So yeah,
Elon got that kind of money.
But anyway, looking forward to that. Also, next week we've got a big one of the big 4 pay-per-views for WWE. Actually, that is Survivor Series War Games will be taking place in Vancouver on November 30th.
Man, look at her hair.
Rhea's?
What? No, up there at the top.
Oh, Bianca? Yeah, she's got long hair, dude.
What is that?
Now, what?
That is weird.
Well, anyway,
her hair's always been like that.
She's always had that, bro. Moving on. So now, obviously, we've got the big. We got 3 matches right now that are confirmed for the show. And that is, of course, the big War Games match that we've been talking about here for months on the channel between the 2 Bloodline factions. Both factions have been looking for a 5th man as of this point. They've obviously got the main families. And then Solo Sikoa's Bloodline recently acquired Big Bronson Reed to join his crew to be the 5th man. And as far as I know, on SmackDown, Roman Reigns and the original Bloodline are still looking for their 5th man, who is starting to look more and more like it may just be Seth Rollins. I don't know.
I hope not.
Because that's at least with Bronson Reed, I can kind of buy him maybe being part of like the Bloodline. I know you said he was from New Zealand, I think. So I don't know if that, but he at least has that look of kind of like he could be a part of this whole family thing. But if you throw in somebody like a Seth Rollins or a Cody Rhodes, I'm not going to like it personally. Now, here's the problem though. You can't do Rock because from the sounds of things, he's busy filming the live action version of Moana right now. And he's been all, Maui'd up here. So it looks like he's not going to be coming to this pay-per-view. However, it sounds like Paul Heyman.
That is a bodysuit. There's no way that dude is that.
Well, he's not that thick. So I don't know how they're going to make this work, but his body looks bigger than his head. So something doesn't look right in this, but movie magic.
Y'all sound like some haters is what it sounds like to me.
He is not that.
Like the fuck out.
I don't know if I've got another picture of him here or not, but I mean, look how thick he looks here. That's not
He might just be fat, big dog.
He's been eating them cheeseburgers.
You see his cheat meal, bro?
Yeah, I'm going to watch SmackDown, Mike, so don't ruin it in the chat.
Yeah.
Well, I know we just happen to be filmed like
My prayer is that this whole Seth Rollins thing is a red herring. What I want, this is what I want to happen. I want that pod, the 4 of them in it, empties out.
Okay.
And then that pod on the other side empties out. Solo will probably be the last one to the ring. If I was booking it, I'd make Solo the last one to the ring. No, maybe I'd do Bronson Reed be the last one. Solo be next to last. Because now when Bronson Reed gets in the ring, it's like, yo, they got this fucking monster and we're about to lock him in this cage with these guys. Okay, and then Paul Heyman to come out.
Which he made a phone call to at the end of last week's show. It was disconnected, so we'll hopefully get Paul Heyman.
And he goes, ladies and gentlemen, I am, and then he says the advocate for and either CM Punk, which would only further the whole Seth Rollins shit, or my honest pick is Brock Lesnar.
I don't know about that. All I know is Mike. He's not going to spoiler, but Mike does say you do find out who the 5th member is for Roman's team on SmackDown. So
it's fucking Cody Rhodes. Cody's busy at.
See, I don't think so because now again, Mike, don't ruin it, but I think obviously you got the women's War Games, which I want to talk about in just a second, and then Gunther versus Damian Priest again for the world title, which it could be a good fun match for sure. But I think Cody Rhodes is going to be busy with Kevin Owens because obviously Kevin Owens put Randy Orton in a ambulance with a pile driver. Yeah. And we had that conversation about how a pile driver, if you watch any other pro wrestling show, just doesn't feel like a devastating move. But if you only watch WWE, it is banned in the company. So it makes sense for the storyline. But obviously it's just a little weird. But in this case, it makes sense to maybe do like a stipulation, maybe like an ambulance match. This is not confirmed yet that I know of. But I would assume that these two will be wrestling for the WWE title at Survivor Series as well. On top of the fact that last week we also got the return of Shinsuke Nakamura after LA Knight defended his United States Championship, and he got taken out by Nakamura after the fact. So I'm imagining we'll get Nakamura versus Shinsuke at Survivor Series. So that would be 5 matches, and that would probably be enough.
He's got a whole new face,
whole new look, whole new attitude. So I'm interested to see
shit.
what Hunter does with Shinsuke now.
Like some real evil Shinsuke.
Oh yeah, it was a nice change of pace when I saw him, and I didn't even recognize him at first till they said his name. I was like, oh god,
we gonna get the King of Strong style back because like that's the NXT Nakamura.
Yeah, he hit LA Knight with a Kinshasa last week to take him out. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to all those potential matches. But the one I'm interested in talking about a little bit here, real quick, is this women's War Games match with Liv Morgan, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Raquel Rodriguez, and Candice LeRae versus Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, and Naomi. Talk about let's just a bunch of different women and just throw them in the ring together. In my opinion, there are some storylines that are coalescing there a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I think there was an injury angle for Jade Cargill tonight for some reason, which I'll be interested to see more about that too. We'll have to see. So I don't know if she'll get replaced or not. But to me, it's just kind of like I was watching these, especially, you were talking about how people are jumping different shows and stuff. If you got the titles or whatnot, the bloodline thing makes sense. And I get you're setting up a War Games match for Survivor Series, but these women who in some of these instances, like really don't have a whole lot of difference, or not a lot to do with each other when it comes to storyline here. They're jumping shows a lot right now. Some of them do, but not all of them.
No, like comparatively all of them, because you think about the argument is basically you have Jade Cargill and
they're going for the
Bianca tag champs, right?
Yeah, and Liv and Raquel wanted that, fine. But now here, where it made no sense to me was Nia Jax and Liv Morgan literally just wrestled at the last pay-per-view for the Saudi Arabia title, and now they're just buddy. They're supposed to be.
That's
but I see what you're saying. Rhea, obviously, she's got a vendetta against Liv. I mean,
but it also
with Nia. I get some of this, but
because Naomi and
Naomi
Nia,
and Liv Morgan have nothing.
No, but Naomi and Nia do.
Yeah.
So it's like, but
Naomi Sky is okay. I'll get your point.
Naomi is also associated with Bianca and Jade, so it made sense for her to go find somebody who's also beefing with one of the competitors, which is Nia Jax.
Now I wonder if since there's apparently is an angle involving Jade Cargill, I wonder if Becky Lynch is the return. I'm not sure. I'm just guessing. Shot in the dark. Maybe a Trish Stratus that's in Canada. I don't know.
But why would you bump out Jade and not
Miranda?
Io?
Io's the number one contender for Liv's title now. That one I understood. But yeah.
But then there's also Rhea.
Yeah, Rio. Yeah, that's more of a Raquel thing too. I think more. But yeah, Liv too. But yeah,
a woman.
I get that. I guess, but
of the ring saying with a shirt on that says "the man." I mean, how stupid! That's just so stupid.
All right, dude, I'm done talking.
Bro, it's a gimmick. Calm down.
As long as it wasn't Charlotte, I think Miranda would be fine.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
so. They're the same thing.
But anyway,
the fuck up, Matt.
So, which of these two shows, I'm assuming you're probably going to say WWE. Which are you looking forward to most?
Both of them, to be honest. There's storylines on matches I would love to see on AEW. As far as this show goes, I think the women step it up every year, given the opportunity.
Well, see, and that was the other thing too. Like, okay, I can see your point on some of the storylines. I'm kind of talking myself into it a little bit more now too. But jumping different shows all the time is kind of like, all right, we need to stop doing that if we got a brand split. But I get it in this one case.
Yes.
But the thing that was with me on this one, like, I get why the bloodline is inside War Games, the cages. Do the women need to be in the cage? This isn't a blood feud as much.
No, you're right. Now this
it could have just been 5-on-5 elimination. That would have been
I see if you would have gave them like the original Survivor Series gimmick.
Yes, I would prefer that with the women, personally. But I get it. They're trying to get the women getting involved too.
But also, like I said, every time given the opportunity for shit like this, where it's these big gimmick matches, and we know the men do it, they crush it. But think about when Bailey and Mercedes, what was her name? Sasha Banks at the time, got their first Hell in a Cell match. They fucking they main evented it, and they
killed it.
Oh, it was awesome.
I'm not saying it won't be a good match. I think it'll be a great match. Those women are very talented.
I'm just saying, like, even the women's Money in the Bank match, fucking Chelsea Green, that ladder spot was bananas.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And she didn't even win.
And part of it's just me. Maybe I just wasn't feeling it, but I'll give it a chance for sure.
But like, given the opportunity, they always step it up. So like, I'm pumped about it because like I want to see what they're gonna do. And you're right, it could be a returning Becky Lynch. I mean,
I'm not sure. It's just a thought I had. But Mike says to wrap up the wrestling talk real quick. Favorite Survivor Series moment? I know.
Mine would be the Undertaker when he showed up.
Oh, okay, that's a good one. Of all time, it'd be harder to think about. The one that jumps off the top of my head is obviously the Survivor Series we went to in Indianapolis with the debut of the Shield. That was a good one. But there's obviously a lot more, I'm sure. I thought Elimination Chamber, the first Elimination Chamber match, was really cool. Outside of poor Triple H, destroying his larynx, I think.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's some other good ones I have to sit down and think about. Definitely not the gobbledygooker.
No.
Not that one. But
no.
But yeah, there's some good ones.
Man, sure. Taker thought he was coming out of that damn thing.
Oh yeah, lucky for him that did not happen. Oh my. All right, well, let's move on to the next topic. Let's keep the show kind of rolling here, and let's get into a little bit, a couple movie trailers we want to talk about. I know Matt's interested to talk about this for sure.
Yep.
Here we go. All right, so we had a couple there's actually quite a few movie trailers and posters and stuff that were released this week, but I thought I'd pick the two of the probably the more popular ones, I think, to show here just to kind of highlight. The rest of them, like I said, you could see online. I think Elio, the Pixar movie, The Bad Guys, another animated show. There's another.
Wait, is that you said Bad Guys?
The Bad Guys. You remember there's a second.
Yeah, that movie was the fucking shit, dude.
Okay, well that one's out now too. It's going to come out next August, I believe. So that trailer's online.
So I have kids, so like I have excuses to watch these shits, and I'll be finding these little gems of. I'll be like, "Yo, this is where it's at."
I have
this movie legit.
Watch movies.
I mean,
watch.
Yo, that ass.
A lot of animated stuff is great stuff. I'm not gonna lie to you.
And I watched Garfield the other night just because I was trying to talk the kids into it.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Aaron, if you ruin this segment for you, I will haunt you for the rest of your life.
Ruin it for you, you mean?
Yeah.
Man,
what are you talking about? Why am I catching fire? I just got in here.
Poor Aaron just, walked in the room and it was on fire.
Aaron walked in here and got smoked immediately.
Man, that's not even cool. But I do want to get Aaron's thoughts on this too, because these are two movie trailers that I think that maybe he would even be interested in. So first up, I wanted to get the reaction from you guys for the upcoming Minecraft movie for all you video gamers out there. I know Brandon's got kids and stuff for sure, and I know Aaron does too. I don't know if they play Minecraft much, but
you ever played Minecraft, Eric?
Me? No. I played a little bit with my niece and nephew, but I was never very good at it.
So. We got to get you to play.
We need to do a Minecraft stream.
Yeah, we got
to. We very well may.
The old guys play Minecraft.
Old guys play Minecraft.
Definitely
I'm all down for that. But they got a live action movie coming out with Jason Momoa and Jack Black. So let's check out the latest trailer for that. And we'll let you guys know what we think about it. So here we go.
Minecraft trailer, take 2.
I am Steve. As a child, I yearned for the mines, but something always got in the way.
Go on! Get out of here!
That was a creepy old man.
But the call of the mines was too strong. So one day, I started digging and digging until I found this. A wonderland where anything you can imagine is possible.
He's definitely hamming it
as
up,
long
ain't
as
he?
what you imagine can be built out of blocks.
Got a boy?
Where are we?
Wait, who are you again?
Garrett the Garbage Man Garrison.
That pink jacket. Wow.
Whatever. Barely think about it.
Welcome to the overworld.
Oh, that's that girl from Peacemaker.
Anything you can dream about here, you can make.
Now let's have some fun.
This makes no sense.
Okay, that's funny.
Don't I know it? There are dark forces who want to destroy this world. If we want to stop them, we're going to need to create something amazing. Let's go to the stash.
This is our decision. Nothing we can do. We've got the vision. Now let's have some fun. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's this junk?
An ender pearl. Teleports you to wherever you throw it.
Yeah, right.
And was the only one I had. No biggie. Oh yeah, there's one more thing you need to know.
Great. Now it's dark. Does that feel quick to anyone else?
I ain't gonna lie, it looks kind of fun.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you do not want to be caught out after dark in Minecraft.
No.
It's a wrap for you,
It's
dog.
done. Yeah, you get caught out in the dark, it is over.
Now, my limited knowledge of the Minecraft video games, obviously,
Oh.
notwithstanding, it looks like it adheres pretty good to the game, from what I
It does.
can tell.
Yeah.
It does.
The game is literally a giant sandbox. If you can think
Yep.
it, you can create it. That's what it is.
I
But
want
there's-
to play Minecraft again.
We were just discussing that. We should definitely do a Minecraft stream.
My wife put my cows inside my house.
Old guys and Miranda.
Brother, we used to do the most treacherous shit to each other when we played Minecraft.
Oh,
We
yeah.
would booby trap each other's houses.
Yep.
There was this time, I shit you not, dude. These two buddies of mine, they're twins. We played with a group of us, right? And there was one time that he built a castle outside, and outside of it, he lined it with the skulls of everybody in town, including us, if you got too close to his house. I did not know this when I logged into the server that day that he went on a killing spree. So immediately upon me logging in, he goes, "Brandon, I got to show you something." So I go over to his house, and like literally
What did he
outside,
show you?
there's just the skulls of all the players that are on our server, and they're all our friends. And I go, "When did you do this?" He goes, "Just a few minutes ago," and then kills me and then mounts my head up. So now when I spawn back, which my house is across the street from his, so I spawn back and I go out there and I'm like, "What the?" And he goes, "Just putting the finishing touches," and he puts my skull. I was like, I hate everything about it.
Man. Wow.
That's great.
So yeah, what do you think about, like I said, just the video game aspects of it? Does it look like I said, it's got everything right from
I'd watch it. I would. Yes, this might be the first video game movie outside of Mario Brothers, because that was actually pretty good too.
Yeah, it was very
But
good.
they actually nail.
I wonder what an Enderman will look like.
Oh man.
I
The guy
see one in the trailer, and
no.
of course they're not going to show one in the trailer.
Well, they're not going to give everything away.
Or the
No.
Ender Dragon.
They're
But
not
I
gonna
love
show
that
you that in the
everything's is
trailer.
blocky, and even the music. It's so annoying.
Yeah,
and
yeah, you kind of
cheesy.
sound a little, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it looks great to me. I mean, it's
Yes,
not
we
something that I
should-
was actually thinking I would actually be interested in watching initially. This trailer
Mhm.
did a lot to pique my interest. So
Momoa is
yeah, I might
hilarious,
go
by
see
the way.
this. Yeah, well, Momoa, I know you don't like the Fast and Furious movies, but Momoa
don't.
did this great
Don't.
performance in the last Fast and Furious. It kind of a little
I
bit.
heard he
it
was the
kind
best
of-
part.
It was
I heard he
kind of
the best part.
Joker like where he was
Yeah.
very hamming it up. So there's a little bit of that in here. I could tell a little bit too. So
Yeah.
he's definitely kind of broadening his reach a little bit, not just kind of playing. I mean, he's kind of still playing Jason.
But that's the
Momoa, I
thing. He's
suppose,
the
but
big tough guy in all these movies because
Yeah.
that's what he gets typecast as. So you see him try to put on this bravado even in the trailer, and then he screams. You know?
Yeah, exactly. So it could be interesting to see him kind of step out of his element for sure. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as of the last trailer for the evening was is the live action adaptation of the animated film How to Train Your Dragon. It is being directed by the same guy who directed the animated films. So I think in that regard, at least we've got a good idea of how this film is going to turn out. Hopefully it'll actually live up to those animated films. Matt's interested to talk about this. So let's check out this trailer real quick and we'll get his thoughts on it. Here we go.
When you carry this axe, you carry all of us with you.
Dad, I can't kill dragons.
But you will.
I'm a Viking. I'm a Viking!
Oh,
That is crazy.
yeah. Well done, though.
If I don't get a dragon soon, and his name and he don't look like Toothless, I don't want it.
I mean,
I want a dragon, and I want it ASAP. Son.
Hey, before we talk about that movie, I just want to say, Joe Rogan's Twitter bio says he's a dragon believer. Elon made sure to retweet this today. So I just want to say, if there are really dragons, and we're about to find out, I will have me a dragon.
Oh, dude, I'd just be like, where are y'all been stashing them all these years?
First of all, if anybody knows and owns a dragon, it's fucking Elon. Okay,
yeah, that's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Or who was it who used to say they had dragon blood? Was that Angelina Jolie? No, it was Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah,
right. I think
so.
No, Charlie Sheen had
dragon
blood.
Tiger blood.
Tiger blood, whatever, something like that. He's probably got one too. Whatever.
Probably. Anyway,
the scriptures have a couple of mentions of dragons in verses. So,
okay.
Listen to my words, family. If my dragon don't look like Toothless, don't want it.
Well, Matt, you had some thoughts on this. What do you think?
That movie, the animated movie, was a home run. Okay. Anybody who's seen that movie knows it was good because everybody in life can relate to that movie in some way or the other.
Yeah.
If this director, I speak of this meaning this. If that director has to remake that movie, he has to nail it cast for cast, person for person.
Well, I know the father of Hiccup's played by the guy who voiced him. It's Gerard Butler.
I know it is. I've already noticed that.
Yeah.
And I have to say that movie was, it's word for word. If it's going to be like that, which is what I'm hearing it is.
It's literally the movie.
A lot of people will go see this movie.
Well,
because of what it is. It's just simple. The movie was awesome in itself. It has action in it. It's like, you ever see like the writing of how to write a good movie?
It has
it on the edge of your seat. It relates to everyone who watches it because everyone has that bond in some way with some creature or person.
I mean, look at it. It looks like he's got little kitty cat or puppy dog eyes right there. I mean, how do you not love that?
Whatever.
I want a dragon.
Now,
ASAP.
As somebody who likes the original animated film, do you want this to be a shot-for-shot, basically, remake as we're seeing in this particular scene?
Yes.
Or do you want to add something here and there? No. You just want it to be as it is?
Absolutely. No. 100%.
Well, I agree. That's probably the best route to take.
My biggest scare with this movie, and this is my biggest scare, is I'm scared that they will make it agenda pushing. And I really hope they don't do that with this movie, because this movie, you can't do that to this movie. If you do it, it's ruined. It's forever ruined, which is sad because that movie, like I said, everyone relates to it. It's something that everyone has a Toothless. Everyone.
Well, like I said, since it is the original director from the original animated film, I think I have a little more faith that it's going to turn out a lot better.
I think this is a 1-for-1.
Well, it worked for the Lion King live action remake.
Yes,
it was a 1-for-1 basic reshot.
Now, I will say this. Miranda showed me this morning or yesterday.
Yesterday, I think.
Yesterday. She was excited to show me this. And I watched it, and that scene where he's about to stab him or whatever, and he looks at him, I out loud go, well, it was out loud, but a whisper. I was like, Toothless.
Well, and to me, that's where this movie hinges. Yes. On obviously the animation of the dragons, but especially Toothless. Just like Stitch for the live action Lilo and Stitch movie coming out. If you screwed that model up, the movie was never going to work. But in both cases, just like when they had to, reanimate Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Sonic the Hedgehog one.
And they got Toothless absolutely right in their model. So I think if they got that right and you get the rest of it the way it is, I think it's going to be a hit.
But the other dragons were cool too. But Toothless.
They even have Burke. They nailed Burke. Like, I mean, it even looks like Burke. I mean, that's how it is.
And that's hard to do sometimes with animation because obviously his animation is going to be a little bit more different than live action. But yeah, this looks like to be it's on the right track, and it's good to see some good things from the looks of things coming out of Hollywood. We'll see how they go. Like Matt says, hopefully they don't do the Wokify thing or whatever.
Please,
But,
Toothless.
I think there is a little talk, I think, about the actress who plays Astrid. May not be, but at the same time, it's not so far.
That's fine.
To me, it doesn't feel like something that's so like in your face. It's maybe going to really take you out of it so far. So I'm not worried yet. But like I said, they're on the right track.
You can't cast people word for word.
Anyway, look,
It's hard.
Listen.
Especially with
All I care about is the message of the movie stays the same.
Yes.
Don't be.
That's all I care about.
Like Snow White, which we were going to mention a little bit later in the politics section, where there's actually talk that Snow White will actually be the one saving the prince in that movie, and not the other way around. So, we'll get into that later. But anyway, preview of things to come. So yeah, well that'll do it. Any other thoughts, Aaron? Any other thoughts?
Aaron, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
Both movies look interesting. I'm gonna give them a shot, but if they fall flat, then I will lose more hope for the movie industry. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Mike said, "What is the best live adaptation of an animated movie? I guess so far, or you talking strictly Disney or just in general? Probably in general.
I'd say Beauty and the Beast.
That was okay. They added a little bit.
That was pretty solid.
Beauty and the Beast was pretty good.
What did Aaron say?
Ninja Turtles.
Fair.
Who said Ninja Turtles?
I did.
No, he did. Lion King was pretty good, even though it was mostly animated too. There was one shot in the live action adaptation of Lion King.
I will say that Mufasa movie looks good too, though.
I'm interested in the Mufasa.
And that's an original story, so I'm interested to see how that goes. But yeah, we'll see how it goes too. It's kind of a prequel, but shoot, off the top of my head, animated. I'd have to think about that one. I really would. Maybe I'll think of one here.
Miranda, what do you think?
I'm not the right person to ask, Brandon.
I'm talking about the movies.
I've actually.
Oh,
I think Aladdin.
Aladdin was decent.
Aladdin was the best.
I thought Will Smith did a good job as the genie, if nothing else.
Oh, yeah,
he made it his own, but at the same time, it was still the genie. So
yeah,
he didn't try to just straight up rip off Robert Williams, which would have also made people mad. So
yeah, no, we've seen that one, didn't we?
Will Smith did it his own way.
Which
is like what most movies, if everyone watches Will Smith movies, they usually are in his own way.
Yeah, sometimes.
Very rarely does Will Smith copy other actors.
But Robin Williams was a big shoe to fill for that role.
Oh yeah, and that was going to make somebody mad no matter what you did.
Yeah, the genie was crazy work.
Yeah, and a lot of that was just him riffing off the top of his head. So they had to animate it around what he was saying. So take the good stuff. But yeah, great stuff. So,
I will say, I hope the Minecraft movie produces some good toys.
You would think so.
Yeah, we got to get back to that too. We had this conversation before.
We've got to start creating toys again. But kids don't buy them anymore. That's the
you can make anything a fucking collectible. Like
you go,
I got more toys than most kids nowadays.
Yeah.
I grew up at the time though where they were a thing.
That is also true.
Yeah, like when we were kids and movies came out and they had toys associated with them, like I had a lot of Ninja Turtles, like an egregious amount of Ninja Turtles, and GI Joes. And GI Joes
party wagon.
You had a party wagon? That's a different conversation.
No, the Ninja Turtle van where the door popped out.
I know, I had that too. I had
a party wagon.
I had the boat. I played with that thing in the bathtub.
I had some Batmobiles
on Baby Jesus. Like oh yeah, I had the Bat Cave. I had
Brandon's been on a Baby Jesus kick today.
I know. I had Krang's hideout and
I'm
shit.
not Ricky Bobby.
I had Krang's hideout. Like I had all this shit, and like I had my size Voltron.
Oh wow!
For a while,
those weren't cheap.
But toys nowadays, like because we have kids. And like we go to Walmart and it's like not even the wrestling figures, like it's just not what it was, man.
Well, you're not a kid anymore.
My dad has an original Darth Vader.
That is true. Your dad has what?
An original Darth Vader from when Star Wars came out.
Action figure. Yeah, I used to have a bunch of those. Ended up selling
in the box. He still has it in the box.
Oh, if it's in mid condition, it's probably worth money now.
Yeah,
so hold on to that for sure.
But I agree, Miranda, toys.
He said, "Imagine if we had saved our toys like the 40-year-old virgin Steve Carell movie."
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have. I mean, I've got some old toys, but not in their original packaging like that. Where they
let me ask you a question, Eric, because you and Mike and then Miranda would probably be the only ones who could answer this fucking question. But Aaron never even heard of him. You remember the My Monsters or My Little Monsters?
Yeah. We talked about them on the show once before. Yeah.
I had one of those. It was the dopest toy. All it was a stuffed animal with chains. It was monster. It was ugly. But I loved that fucking thing. I had that. I got it for Christmas one year, and I carried that thing with me everywhere, bro.
Like, kids still love stuffed animals, though.
Yeah,
that's one thing that just doesn't go out of style, I think.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move into the next section here. Let's get into some of the sports talk. We got a little bit of that to go on.
Shit.
So before we get into the big talk about the big showdown that's going to take place tomorrow afternoon in Columbus, Ohio, let's talk about the head coach of
stop
the
saying Ohio like that for sure.
Ohio. But let's talk about Kurt Signetti, the head coach of the Indiana Hoosiers, has assigned an 8-year contract extension to stay with the program. And so for all the Indiana fans who were concerned that he would be taking big offer to possibly go to another big school after the big 10-0 season they've had this year. Apparently he's not going anywhere anytime soon. So that's great to see. Now that doesn't mean, I guess, you couldn't get out of the contract early and go elsewhere, but it sounds like he's staying where he is. And he also had a bit of a comment. He was asked about it. And so let's listen to what he had to say himself.
We awoke to some big news from Bloomington this morning. You signed a new 8-year deal. Congratulations on that. Curious, though, what were some of the important elements that you wanted included in that extension?
Money.
Well, honestly, they came to me. They were very proactive. And, some people say, well, why would you do that when, this one may open, that one may open, and you're going to be a hot commodity and blah, blah, blah. And the fact of the matter is, we're the emerging superpower in college football. Why would I leave?
Wow. I like the confidence, though. You can't
love the
deny
moxie
that.
on the guy.
Right, no doubt about it. Apparently,
But is he wrong?
Well, so far he's
He's
not.
about to be tomorrow. I know that.
But apparently his 8-year contract extension is worth $72 million to stay with the Hoosiers following this magical year. Roughly $8 million a year annually, which makes him the highest paid IU employee ever. So fans who were worried that he'd take big money to go otherwise can rest easy at this point. So, yeah, with that being said, that leads us into this weekend where there's officially only 3 unbeaten teams left in the nation for college football.
Army is held on.
Army, Oregon, and Indiana. Yeah, good for Army.
The
man.
Black Knights have been stomping people.
Wow.
But
Army
obviously,
Knights.
Yeah. Obviously,
Army
the Big
hasn't been
Ten's going to come down to Oregon and Indiana, maybe. We'll see it tomorrow.
I don't remember the time IU and Army ever were undefeated. I mean, I don't think Army ever has been.
Dude, Army, I've seen a couple of these Army games. Like,
They're tough.
'cause I'll turn college football on.
They're tough.
And catch a game, but we're doing stuff around the house. But I've seen some of these Army games. Ooh, buddy.
Oh yeah.
Well, it all depends on their schedule too. I don't know how long they've been playing.
Same thing can be said about IU and Oregon and every other team too.
Well, and Mike makes a good point too. If IU loses tomorrow, I bet the committee will not let them into the playoffs. That's very well might happen.
Like that's bullshit.
Which would suck if that's the case.
I don't think because you're still one of the best in that in this. No, that's dumb. If they screw over these guys off of one loss, if that is the case, that's bullshit.
They would still be better, in my opinion, than most of the nation.
Exactly.
Don't care.
And they're going to destroy Purdue. They better.
Those committees are so fucking weird. I've heard a lot about them over the last week.
But it's like I told Matt and a few others at work too. At this point, no matter what happens with IU and Ohio State tomorrow,
I'm not disappointed.
It's been an outstanding season for IU.
It has been.
Everything at this point is gravy. Whether they make the college championship playoffs or whether they win the Big Ten or whatever it might be, this is still the best season IU's probably ever had, and you can't take that away from it, no matter what happens in Ohio tomorrow.
No.
So yeah,
and you can't take it away from those young athletes either.
Yeah. So tomorrow, what is it? Noon Eastern. Indiana Hoosiers number 5 plays the number 2 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes, who are 9-1. The Hoosiers are 10-0. The Hoosiers have not beaten Ohio State since 1988.
Hey, hold on, time out real quick. Can you go back to the previous picture?
Sure.
That top comment is wild.
What does it say? Go Bucks?
No.
Up.
Up.
Putin.
Yeah.
Russia is only at war with the U.S. and NATO. Americans, hey, that number 5 Indiana and Ohio State matchup this week is gonna be nuts. Yeah, that sounds.
Is that butter?
America for you?
Is that butter? That's butter up there commenting on that.
That's wild.
Butter.
No, shut up.
I don't know who
That's
that is,
wild.
But yeah, the Hoosiers have not beaten Ohio
Anyway,
State
yeah,
since
that's wild.
1988. The Ohio State Buckeyes have a 29-game win streak, the longest head-to-head win streak in Big Ten history since 1991. So the Hoosiers have a tough hill to climb. Regardless, they got history not on their side in this case.
But it'll be a hell of a time to break that streak. They
do, man. It's going to be party time in Bloomington. I'll tell you that right now.
And me and Miranda have watched a couple IU games, obviously, because we fucking live here.
Well, not as close as I do now, but yeah. But even so,
I see them on my TV every once in a while, whatever. But and like, I got to give it to them. You know, call a spade a spade. They were putting teams under. Now, there was 2 games that I did see, though, that it wasn't such a big lead, and they were really getting stopped in the first half. Ohio State is not a team you can do that to.
No.
Yeah.
So
I will answer that for Brandon. No.
That's my only concern. I mean, they played against Michigan, and it wasn't this, 14-point blowout.
No.
They could have easily lost that game.
Yeah.
You can't give a team like Ohio State the opportunity. But I will say this too. We watched a couple of Ohio State games, and some of those games got a lot too closer than eventually it sped up and Ohio State pulled away.
Yeah.
But there were quarters where
and I used come close a few times before this season.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying it can't be done.
Even though we got fucked in that Oregon game, but that's a whole nother matter.
Mike said that he believes that Army plays Notre Dame at Yankee Stadium tomorrow.
Oh, so there will be a win in Yankee Stadium.
Wow, and that's Yankees fans saying it. So there you go.
That's nice to know. Thanks, Mike.
Our buddy Nate's rooting for it now for sure. But yeah, if you look at the 2 teams here, when it comes to the 5-star, 4-star, and 3-star players, obviously Ohio State has the advantage when it comes to that. But like I said, I used to come close a few times. But if they're ever going to, this would be the year.
Do they still have Stover at Ohio State?
I want to say
or did he graduate? He's the tight end. I don't know.
But I don't know for sure.
If I was a general manager on an NFL franchise, I would be buying him dinner. Because he would be playing for me next year. Because let me tell you something. There's 3 or 4 wide receivers at Ohio State. And Brandon, you know this.
Yeah, I've seen them.
They can catch. They don't suck at football. They're not number 2? They're not number 2 because they suck. They're number 2 because
we got fucked over by Oregon.
They shouldn't even be number 2. Oregon. Most
I can't piss me off so bad, dude.
Let me tell you something. I don't ever defend Ohio State. Brandon knows this.
No.
But they got screwed in the Oregon game. That injury time and the NCAA, SEC starting to catch on to this because they're starting to find SEC teams for injured players within 2 minutes. In college, players are starting to milk that rule. Mm-hmm. And what they do is they'll get it if they gimp off to the sideline and they fall down, it's a timeout.
Well, the NFL does that.
The NFL is inside 2 minutes, though. It's a timeout, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It is not in college.
Oh, okay. Wow, I didn't know that.
And that is a rule.
Well, that's why the NFL changed it because people were milking it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're really looking into that next year. So do not be surprised if you see the NCAA come down with a rule where that's a timeout within the last 4 minutes of the game.
That's fair. I mean, I get it. I mean, I do.
Tennessee lost the game because of that, and so did Ohio State. And it's the same crap that. And now, if you're injured and you're legitimately hurt, I understand.
Yeah.
But don't.
Yeah.
Take everybody's time.
Exactly. Well, there are big stakes for this matchup for both teams, actually.
Damn, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, if IU wins, the Big Ten championship game would be Indiana versus Oregon. There'd be no doubt about it because they'd be both undefeated at that point. Ohio State and Penn State would be eliminated from Big Ten contention. I didn't know that. Wow.
That makes zero fucking sense.
I guess
Brandon,
because with
there
only
are 2
1 week to
losses.
go, they have 2
Oh,
losses.
yeah, you're right.
That makes,
Fuck,
that makes
that
sense.
is
I think it's
crazy.
State
Lord.
but
does
anyway.
not have a loss.
Yeah.
Well, Penn State does.
Yeah, Penn State does. That's why they'd
Who
be
did Penn
eliminated.
State lose to?
I don't know, but they're not undefeated. no more.
Ohio
I know
State?
that. But
yeah.
now, if Ohio State wins, though, Ohio State could clinch the Big Ten championship game appearance with a Week 14 win over Michigan.
Lame.
So there is some, stakes here for both sides here, no doubt. Seems like the stakes. I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty rough on both sides.
If I remember correctly, this
harsh
was
as
the,
fuck.
Yeah.
This was the Michigan game last year for you guys,
Yeah.
wasn't it? I mean, we are in the same position Michigan was last year.
Michigan ain't shit this year. Damn.
Even though they gave IU a bit of a struggle the last time out for sure. If they play like that against Ohio State, I got big concerns.
Michigan plays like
they got 2 weeks off to prepare. Hopefully, they'll be ready to roll, in my opinion. But
Michigan plays like
Okay.
Rutgers, but
Now
that's
it's going. I'm saying now it should be a good game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout like some people are saying. Either way.
I think it'll be 3 points.
But what I will say is this: on Baby Jesus, come Monday, if y'all say anything to me about this game, if Ohio State loses,
I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to smile and probably have to walk out.
You better not even do that, son. It's immediate hands. It's disrespect off rip.
But I'll be a little happier on Monday.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting to know too that the first ever matchup between the Buckeyes and the Hoosiers took place all the way back in 1901. Where Indiana took home the first victory with a score of 18-6.
Ohio State is 79-12 against us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Since then, though, since 1901, the 2 teams have faced off 95 times. Where Ohio State has owed us for 79 times to Indiana's 12 and 5 ties.
We tied. Wait a minute. We tied 5 times.
Apparently so.
When did we tie?
Wow.
I don't know. Look it up, but that's the stat.
79
to 12, Ohio State.
5 times.
That's
wow.
Listen, at this point, we could just give you this. Damn.
yeah, Brent. Just if you lose tomorrow, you owe us this. I mean, let us have one. I mean, you know what I mean?
Like the margin
it's like
of
watching the Browns win. No offense, Miranda, but at the same time, it's like let them have one occasionally.
Yeah, you know what? That happened yesterday. I don't want to talk about it.
We're about to.
It's like the margin for
yesterday.
The margin for makeup time. I'm not worried about y'all catching up in my lifetime or my child. That's wild.
It's not going to happen ever in our lifetimes for sure. Mike said he believes in 1987 was the last time IU beat both Michigan and Ohio State in the same season. So that would be a big deal too. So
what's the record against like Michigan then?
Oh, I don't know. It's probably I'd have to look it up, but I was doing research for this game, not Michigan. Brandon.
No, I'm sorry. It was a thought.
Maybe next week I'll have that for you. But yeah, I'd be curious to
though.
know that myself. Maybe our guru over there, Mike, can look it up for us. I don't know. But anyway, so
This
yeah,
color's gonna be confusing as fuck tomorrow.
Oh, I know. I don't know
I'm
who's going to
just
wear
now
what.
realizing
I'm
this
assuming
whole
you're wearing
situation.
silver, we're wearing red, but I have no idea.
Oh,
But we'll wait.
I
to see.
gotta change my. I told Jaden you're a football fan tomorrow, and it's gonna be the red jerseys. So
I guess we
have
could
to
be wearing
change
white,
that.
so you can.
Yeah,
be
you
wearing
will
red.
be wearing
Yeah,
white. Yeah, I
I
think
Yeah, we're
I'm
white.
hoping.
Yeah, so that makes
Yeah.
sense. Well,
yeah.
when it comes to the NFL, though, we had some interesting things happen in Week 11 this last Sunday. The last undefeated team has fallen. The Kansas City Chiefs were defeated by the Buffalo Bills as the Bills win 30-21 last Sunday. So
sucks to be the Chiefs.
No, I mean nothing against the Chiefs, I guess, but I was kind of sick and tired of seeing them win every single week.
Where's the one with Mahomes throwing his helmet?
Oh, I didn't see that, or I didn't have the picture for sure.
Yeah,
but
he
anyway.
threw his helmet when he lost.
I mean, I'm glad he's competitive. I mean, that is a good thing to have.
Yeah,
but there's a fine line between that and unsportsmanlike. So it just
You could be
depends on how it
pissed
wins.
off too. Like
Exactly. So I'd be more upset that you weren't upset about it.
Mhm.
You know what I've always liked about Mahomes? I'll keep this short because I know you're trying to hurry. Is his competitiveness to stay on the field.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
When
he'll play hurt if he has to. Yeah.
Yeah. He shows that he wants it more than anybody else does.
Yeah.
And that's something I always thought Tom Brady missed was Brady just took it. He took it for granted.
I think Brady.
Well, I would disagree with that. I think he showed he wanted it more than most a lot of times.
I think. Well, I think
as much
I
as
think
don't make me defend Tom
years,
Brady, please.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's crazy,
in his later years, he took a lot of it for granted, and I just always felt that way. That's just me.
Well,
but anyways,
when you win 7 rings, you start going, well, this is another trophy.
That's right.
I guess, but at the same time, I'm happy to see the Chiefs get. I mean, the Chiefs are going to be just fine. No one needs to worry about them. They're going to make it the playoffs.
That's going to happen.
We also had the Chargers defeating the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday Night Football. A little bit of a shocker, a little bit.
This makes no sense to me. Joe Burrow's play and record.
Yeah. Joe Burrow's playing out of his mind, and they're still losing.
What is happening?
It's the rest of the team. It's got to be.
It ain't Jamar Chase, I tell you that.
No, it ain't him either.
And it ain't Higgins
Me and
either.
Brandon both got our asses kicked in dramatic fashion in fantasy football.
Did you guys see the meme where it was Robin Williams going up to the kid and he goes, "It's just not your fault." It's Joe Burrow. He says, "It's not your fault."
It blows my mind though, but it's so weird that Joe is playing crazy. He just surpassed 5,000 yards in passing. It was like him, Lamar, and then I think Mahomes. And Lamar they thought Lamar was going to get there ahead of him, but Joe Burrow did it in this game.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
But like, what the
fuck? Sometimes it's just on in the background. I need to keep my more attention. Anyway.
Hey, he's playing crazy, and like I said, Jamar Chase can seemingly catch it any fucking where. So,
wish T. Higgins would have catch that Hail Mary to end the game for certain.
Yeah,
but I wasn't going to catch. I wasn't going to catch. Who did I get beat by? Oh, yeah, we just talked about it.
Chris.
Yeah, Chris. Yeah,
same fucker.
But yeah, I wish it wouldn't have helped though. But it is good to see Jim Harbaugh actually having some
success.
You give the Chargers a couple seasons with Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert back there, who apparently Jim Harbaugh really loves. This team is already charging, no pun intended, toward a playoff berth, and their next few seasons could be very interesting to watch.
Fuck that. Everybody needs someone like Jim Harbaugh who believes in you,
khakis,
in your life, like he believes in Justin Herbert or any of his quarterbacks he's ever coached. This dude, for all his quirks, and there's a lot of them, the way he talks about Justin Herbert is fucking insane. You know what I mean? Like, he makes
the kid's always had talent,
but the way he hypes him up, and coming from a guy like Herb, Jim, you know what I mean? Like, but the way he hypes him up in every interview, every time he talks about the kid, he's the reason why Jim took the job.
Yeah. And he's working with not very inexperienced, at least, wide receivers at this point.
And doing it.
No offense to the previous coaching staff of the Chargers, but it's obvious that the other coaching staff didn't believe or see in Justin Herbert
what Jim Harbaugh sees in this kid. Because, like, brother, he called him. He was like, he's a beast.
Yeah,
the way I need that motivation in my day. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's Harbaugh's first season as a head coach, and they're 7-3.
Yeah,
I believed in Justin Herbert at one time in my life. He was the guy that I moved on from Josh Allen for
his rookie season,
and I instantly regretted it.
Yeah,
but it's a shit because it's like you saw the talent, you saw it, you knew it was there,
and then I do what I always do in fantasy football, and I draft 4 other useless quarterbacks. So
I'm just saying, you give Harbaugh a couple seasons, he's going to improve that roster even further.
I think by next season, you're going to see a vastly huge.
And I'm happy for Chargers fans. How many times should LaDainian Tomlinson and Phillip Rivers have gone to a Super Bowl and didn't?
Yeah,
some of those guys back in those days. So I'm happy to see it. It just kind of sucks because it's just like, we got, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and now you got to worry about Justin Herbert as well. The AFC's getting really stacked when it comes to quarterbacks and teams at this point. So,
and there's some
young ones
coming along. CJ, Caleb,
Anthony Richardson.
Daniels, Anthony Richardson. That's what Indy needs. We need a Harbaugh.
Yeah.
We need Jim.
Now we're going to talk about it. I was at least encouraged by that game.
Sam Ellinger, whatever his name is.
That's wild.
Okay.
That's wild.
What else?
Well, I'll tell you who does not have it.
Oh, hold on. Even Bo Nix. Real quick, I want to say this too.
And with Sean Payton, yeah.
Bo Nix, you know what I'm saying? Denver kind of doing some shit. You know what I mean? Also, what's his
Geno
face?
Smith.
All right, calm down. No, the Patriots quarterback right now, Drake May.
Drake May, yeah.
He's
Give him a
another
few
one.
Seasons, yeah.
Ooh.
They got to build that team back from the ground up. So
it seems like
even so this year
is coming back to being that where every team was competitive in football,
or at least a lot more than there were.
The Jets. Except for
yeah,
the Jets.
I mean, then you got the NFC, which is a whole other podcast. But yeah, speaking of the NFC, well, before we jump into that, Mike did send us. He said Michigan leads the series with IU 62-11.
That's right.
Damn.
That is right.
That's a lot too. So yeah,
Michigan's had our number 2.
And Mike
At
also
least
said,
pulled that number up.
Well, I got to admit, good luck, Aaron, in our rematch in fantasy football. While half my team is on bye, I believe you got this one. So I got 5 guys on bye too. So Miranda, congrats on your win this weekend. So.
Well,
yeah,
I
did
don't
see
want
your
to hear.
Steelers. Yeah, I'm not going to.
Eric,
anyway.
you should.
Yeah.
I'm not going to gloat. I'm not going to gloat because it's not over yet for sure. But anyway, but there is one team in the league who no longer has a quarterback, and that is well, not the one that they had.
What
anyway.
are you talking about?
They've got Tommy DeVito. It is now. But the New York Giants have parted ways with quarterback Daniel Jones. Jones has reportedly requested his release, and the Giants obliged, with both parties stating it was best for him and the team as a whole. This is the statement from President John Mara. So, so the Giants, if you ask me, the Giants probably should have, got rid of Daniel Jones a while
They
back.
should have never gave him that money.
Yeah, that was the thing. He got paid, but at the same time, I mean, I get it though. You were trying to make it work out. You got to have patience, but there are times there's like maybe for a long time maybe.
I have a question. This is a real question, and I've never played football at that level. Neither have you. But I got a real question.
How do you stuff that?
The guy that's bad, or is it the ownership that's that bad? Because one of y'all fucked up somewhere. Either you're really good at lying.
You can ask both New York teams that right now,
or the other person. You know what I mean? Like somebody had to see something somewhere, right? So is it on you to not bring out what you saw in that person, or is it that person's skill level isn't where it should have been in the first place?
The word you're looking for,
because in order to get drafted, right? You guys, they have to look halfway competent at football, correct?
Where's
Where's
the accountability?
So, but it also has to be something you see in this player in order to invest the time in this player, correct?
Yeah.
So if both of those things was a thing to you, is it on you because you wasn't able to bring it out of him? Or is it on you for not seeing that potential wasn't there in the first place?
I don't know.
Like, who's at fault? Because what if he's playing his ass off to his best of his abilities, right? Well, obviously he was, but
he also, outside of Malik Neighbors this year, he doesn't have a lot around him in some respects.
So whose fault is it?
I know.
I don't think Daniel Jones is a bad quarterback.
I mean, if he just still had Saquon with Malik Neighbors and maybe, and don't get me wrong, Darius Slayton's pretty good. I think they've even got a couple other younger guys there, but
I don't think
you take away Saquon, that takes a lot of
pressure on fine, so it wasn't him.
No, not at all. So I don't know. It sucks to be the Giants. Obviously, not everybody can be Eli Manning, but Eli Manning even had his struggles at times too.
So I got you a question though.
And that New York media is always going to be harsh, no matter who on what. So.
Yeah, I have plenty of experience with them.
That's the thing. He's going to be able to go to any team he wants to now since they let him go. I don't know. I don't know how many takers he'll have. It all depends on which teams need one at the end of the year. It's kind of early to tell.
I tell you right now, Jacksonville.
But what?
Yeah, he's got a point. I know you're the big Clemson Trevor Lawrence guy at one point, but what's Trevor doing for you right now?
He's hurt.
No, he's not.
He's playing through it at least.
Wait a minute. They've been scoring 3 points every game, and he's been playing.
Yeah. Well, I think there was maybe 1 week he missed.
Okay, I'm
recently.
lost.
He wasn't playing last
But
week.
he's played most of
We
the
gotta have
season
a
though.
conversation. Second of all, first of all, I'll answer Brandon's question because I can tell you whose fault it is. The New York Football Giants.
Well, yeah. I mean, you have to take the accountability for sure.
I can tell you why it's their accountability because they did nothing for Saquon. They did nothing but watch him walk. What they watch him walk?
Well, they wanted him to carry the team for the looks of things.
He carried the load. Don't worry. Trust me. He's still carrying the Giants' load. He carries it every Sunday when he's pancaking middle linebackers every week
or hurdling guys, in reverse.
Yeah, yeah.
But like I said, the New York Jets have the same problem. Mike asks, "Do you guys think that Aaron Rodgers is done after this season?"
I think he was done 2 seasons ago.
I was going to say the same thing.
That's a different story between you think he's done talent-wise because of his age, or do you think he's not going to want to play again?
Listen,
I think he's going to want to play again because he ain't going to want to go out like that. But whether or not his body allows it to be better than this,
I think they brought Aaron Rodgers.
It's the same story. It's the same story that we saw with Tom Brady.
No, he's not.
He wasn't held up for it. Like his body, regardless of how you cut it.
Yeah, but Brady got out before it got this rough.
That's
he was
also
on better
true.
teams too.
It's
as
bad.
Well.
Yeah, he was also on a better team. Yeah, fucking
let me
Chris
tell you
Godwin
something.
and Mike Evans.
Rodgers may end up being Brett Favre if he ain't
Listen
careful.
to me.
Oof.
And even Brett
Sauce Gardner.
That team should just be playing better with
Alan
that talent.
Lazard. What's the other wide receiver? Devontae Adams.
Brees Hall, Tyler Conklin. These guys are
Get
talented.
Out of New York, any way you can.
Brees Hall will be the next Saquon if they let him go.
Brees Hall needs to be on a real NFL team with Sauce Gardner, because what they're on right now, I don't even know what that is.
I mean, the defense is rather solid for the most part now. Last week, Richardson kind of tore him up a bit. Let's hope that's a thing that
that
sign
team,
of things to come.
Eric,
look, I'm
they
saying
went
is
2 quarters without a first down.
Yeah, yeah, and with Rodgers, even a subpar Rodgers should be able to get a first down
as an offensive.
They weren't running the ball in the first quarter.
I'm sorry, if I'm a coach or a general manager and I'm sitting there with my offensive coordinator and he's sitting across from me in the room and you can't tell me you can't get a first down in 1 quarter.
Mike,
you're an NFL team.
Only if J.J. McCarthy ends up getting hurt again will maybe Rodgers try to pull a Brett Favre and also go to the Vikings after going to the Jets.
Yeah, I thought about that the one day
weirdness
too.
that would be if he,
I think Aaron should just hang it up.
I think so.
Aaron Rodgers will always be one of the best
of all time.
One of the best long ball pocket passers.
But then he'd have then he'd have the criticisms of, well, he only won 1 Super Bowl.
I think
he won a Super Bowl,
but he won more than most. So
yeah, he
think
won a Super Bowl. He was an MVP.
Yeah.
Like, you can't take those away from him.
And I won't bring up who he beat, because of
the Vikings.
Sorry, Miranda.
I'm not. That's why I wasn't talking about that. The Vikings.
I bought a cheesehead that year, just so you know. I've still got it somewhere.
The Vikings need to either do 2 things. They need to either trade Sam Darnold, or they need to trade J.J. McCarthy. They need to do one of 2 things, because
McCarthy they just drafted. They get rid of McCarthy.
But there's a reason. Well, you can't get rid of Sam Darnold either.
Well, if he goes somewhere, he's going to get another backup.
Eric.
Sometimes he ain't that great either.
So what do you think?
He's only great right now because he's got the best receiver in football.
Yeah, literally.
Okay. Well, there's other wide receivers out there in football. You know,
not like
Justin Jefferson.
Not like Justin Jefferson.
I mean, so now that's going to make
what
a
do you think, Aaron?
difference.
What do you think Daniels could go if he was to go somewhere?
Me?
Yeah.
Cleveland.
I could see something like maybe Tennessee or no, because if Winston plays like he did last night, he'll be there.
Nah, you get Winston like that every once in a while. Come on, that's not consistent enough.
I know, and it's only 1 game, but I don't know. I mean, like I said, it depends on who drops players. I mean, that'll be once the end of the season. Ask me that question again, and I'll be like, he'd be a good fit there, but he may just be a backup somewhere.
He'll be a backup somewhere. I promise you that much. No,
fair enough.
What if the Steelers pick him up?
That's not gonna happen.
Why not?
They got a couple of them already. They're fine. I mean, I'm not saying they won't maybe as a 2nd or 3rd guy, but Depends on what.
That's what I mean.
It depends on if Justin Fields or Russell goes elsewhere, which I don't see. Like I said, everybody was bad mouthing Russell last night. I'm going. It was one bad game. Calm down. It's not.
First of all,
did
you see that snow? That shit was crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Well, let's get into the Steelers then. It's been kind of an up and down week for the Steelers as they defeated the Ravens 18-16 on Sunday to improve to 8-2. As expected, a very tough divisional game, but very entertaining. But then on Thursday Night Football last night, they lose to the Cleveland Browns 24-19 in Cleveland to drop to 8-3. So what happened? Well, Mother Nature happened for the most part, I think. But it was the first major snow game of the season. But the Steelers are still in very solid shape for a good playoff run. So I wouldn't worry too much just yet. It's like the Chiefs. They're going to be fine.
I had this conversation with Aaron this morning too. We were talking about this shit. There are 4 games. There's 4 teams in that division.
Oh shoot! I wouldn't even show the picture.
Pittsburgh. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Look at
Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Baltimore, and Cincinnati. When those are real rivalry games. Those are real grudge games. Like Cleveland don't like Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh don't like Cleveland. Neither one of them like Baltimore.
The whole AFC North is just, a smash mouth football to begin with.
So when they play each other, their defenses played each other so fucking much throughout the years that I promise you that there is a dedicated plan just for these games because those defenses play hard in these games.
Yeah.
It wasn't the fact that the offense of the Steelers was terrible because it wasn't. There were some spectacular catches. They were able to move the ball, but it's just red zone. Russell Wilson is not that good. And until they really work out a dynamic between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, especially in the red zone, where Justin Fields can thrive in the red zone,
I think
it'll be an issue. But
I think Justin needs to be an elusive back.
I leave it in Tomlin's hands to figure out a way to slide Justin. That's wild. Into a situation with him and Russ as a dual quarterback situation. Because like when he got in that game, first he broke off a 15-yard run?
Yeah.
On the first play that Justin Fields was in the game because they were prepared to play Russ. Now, teams coming in, you have to prepare for both quarterbacks. That's a lot of work.
I definitely wouldn't be panicking and going away from Russell yet, though. He came
and I don't think they will.
Game.
I don't think they will at all.
Hold the course. Now, if it becomes a problem like 3 games now, but even so,
Miranda, what Eric and me are trying to say is, I don't think you should worry about this game.
No,
I don't think
they're going to be
worried about
it.
No,
I'm not worried about it.
No.
You know who should be worried about games? Any Pittsburgh or any Dallas Cowboys fan.
Well, hopefully this will be the only Ohio team we got to worry about this week. But anyway, my kind of serious question for Miranda. He said, "What was the moment that made you a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers?"
She woke up like that.
I was born into it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
That's how they all fucking created every last one of them.
Yep.
It's in her blood.
Miranda was born with an ugly
blood.
That's
my mom.
Wild.
My mom was at a game while she was pregnant with me. So.
Wow, yeah. She literally she was smelling the terrible towels while
Yeah.
she was in the womb. She came out going, wait,
Plus,
sucker.
You got to think about it. When she grew up, that team consisted of Troy Polamalu, Jerome
Hines
Bettis,
Ward.
Hines Ward.
You wasn't like that when you came out of the womb, was it? Like,
you know what?
Not Zaire. What was his last name? Frazier? The lineman that got paralyzed.
Ryan Frazier.
Shazier.
Shazier, yeah. I think
Shazier.
Cordell Stewart was the quarterback.
Yeah, Cordell Stewart. Oh, my mom used to love Cordell, sweet ass. I'm like, that man gay, bro.
The one thing I've always loved about the Steelers is that they always are the same, no matter what they do. You know, they don't change.
That's the thing. Unlike some teams like the Giants and stuff, the consistency is Pittsburgh.
So a reporter asked Tomlin today. AB was on X talking about he would go back and play for the Pittsburgh Steelers for free. And a reporter asked Tomlin about it today, and he pulled a Biden. He just walked off the stage.
Was he at least able to find the off ramp to the stage?
Yes, yeah, he got off just fine.
And that's the one thing I will say about Tomlin. Tomlin doesn't entertain foolishness.
No.
He
is business.
No nonsense.
He's a no nonsense business.
The Steelers are a no nonsense club.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had how many head coaches in the last 30 years?
3.
You know, like 3. So,
but that was my point, though. These teams play each other hard, hard. So it wasn't a case of the Steelers look bad. No, the Cleveland defense came to play fucking football, and that's what they did.
And the Steelers,
and that just fed into the offensive line. But Myles Garrett had 3 fucking sacks. 3.
Yeah.
And this whole rivalry between Myles Garrett and TJ is good to see.
It's just 2 of the best, wanting to be the best. And that's
and believing that they're the best, as they fucking should.
Yeah, at least today. They are. I think you can't deny that.
As of last night, though,
at that position,
Myles Garrett can openly say that I'm better than you.
Yeah.
So then now, that's only going to motivate, especially a guy like TJ.
Yeah, he should have a chip on his shoulder after that.
But he, to TJ's discredit and to his credit, teams don't allow that. Every team has a plan for number 90. Because, and ask Baltimore, when you don't account for him, what happens? You get that new running back, you got rammed. One of the best pass rushers in the fucking NFL.
Matt knows about that.
The Steelers are just they always amaze me because it's the same recipe for success that they've used for years and years and years.
Yeah, Tomlin hasn't had under 500.
And their fans are just as loyal as hell. They will show up for their team. They support their team.
And I'm not saying they wouldn't if they only won 2 games, but as Brandon just pointed out, they've not had an under 500 season and under Tomlin, period. So they've not really had bad years.
And that's the thing. Pittsburgh, I don't know what it is with Pittsburgh either, because in saying that, they haven't been under 500. They damn near made the playoffs every fucking time.
Yeah. They would be 0-12 and their fans would still show up.
What do you think they need to really get them past that part? Because it seems like once they get there, they stall out.
I could see them maybe getting another good complimentary receiver on the other side of George Pickens for one. Right now, it just feels like it's Pickens, Najee, the offense. I mean, you got Freiermuth.
Muth is a hell of a tight end. And Johnson,
who is the hell is the second receiver?
Johnson, but Johnson is their other.
It's not Deontay. It's not Deontay Johnson.
No. Well, Mike Williams, I'm guessing.
Okay, Mike Williams, but even him and San Diego or the Chargers wasn't great at times.
But I mean, it also depends too on how you're being used.
Anymore.
He might wish he was now. I don't know. I mean, the Chargers are doing pretty good, but I think he's fine. I'm sure he's happy in Pittsburgh too. Mike said,
if I'm my choice, I'd rather be on the Steelers.
Well, they got the more proven track record right now. Mike said, I chose the Colts as his team despite his brother being a Dolphins fan and his dad being a Bears fan. A lot of people in Indiana were Bears fans. Dolphins fan up here is a little more interesting.
Wasn't it the same way with the Cubs situation too? A lot of Indiana fans.
Yeah, a lot of Cubs fans. Just because Indiana didn't have any teams for the longest time outside.
No, I've said this 1,000 times. When I was a kid, I was a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, but the only reason I was a fan of the Dallas Cowboys because I was a fan of Emmitt Smith. I always favored running backs.
I love Emmitt Smith on the Cardinals.
I wasn't a Pittsburgh fan, but I knew who the fuck Jerome Bettis was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in my family, it's legitimately you're either a Pittsburgh fan or you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. Or if you were like me and one other of my cousins, he was an outlier. He was a Raiders fan, and I was a Colts fan.
What a weirdo.
Thanks for the segue. Speaking of that, the Indianapolis Colts got a much-needed win versus the New York Jets, who are 3-8, and the Colts are now 5-6, with Anthony Richardson's return to the starting quarterback role. Now, he was 20 of 30 for over 300 total yards, 272 passing yards, and 32 rushing yards. 1 passing touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 1 fumble, though, 67% completion percentage, and 106.5 QB rating. By far, this was Anthony Richardson's best game as a pro, including 2 back-to-back 70-yard touchdown drives, one of them a 2-minute drill drive that allowed the Colts to take the lead for the win. Hopefully, it's something he could use as a foundation to learn from. So I'm definitely happy for AR and Colts fans here to see some potential than what we've been wanting to see out of Anthony Richardson since he got drafted. After the game, Coach Shane Steichen tried to give him some encouragement, saying, "You keep doing what you're doing, man, and it's going to be special." So, yeah, I mean,
I don't disagree with him.
So here's my thing, and I'll say this again and again and again, and I said it to you. You have to start using him for what he's good at, playing to somebody's strength. If this is going to be your guy, then fucking help him.
Yeah. Well, we said it last week. You gotta get some of these plays to, like you said, cater to him. They simplified the offense. They didn't throw 40-yard bombs every single time. Now, yes, did he miss a few short ones? Yes, he did. But those opened up the passes more downfield. It just really played to his strengths a lot more, I thought. And I thought that they did a great job of game planning for it.
And that's my biggest hang up with a lot of this shit. Everybody, you immediately just attach blame to the person. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of blame to be held there. But at the same time, if you're not giving him the tools to fucking succeed, then what is the point?
Yeah.
Like, make some fucking compromises.
Not only that, like we talked about last week, how the O-line, a few weeks before when he was benched, gave him maybe 3 seconds to throw the ball. This week, they had much more time to throw the ball. And he was able to set his feet, and he was accurate. So it all starts right there,
These guys get drafted off of the combine. What is it that you see in the combine that makes you go, this could be our franchise player, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then get this fucking person, whatever, money, draft capital, whatever the fuck it is that you do to get this person. And then you get him there. And then OTAs, training, all this other shit happens. And you still see all this fucking promise.
Yeah.
Then you get him to his first game. And I'm speaking in general. I'm not just talking about Anthony Richardson here. But then you do nothing to fucking help him after that.
Do you have the rushing stats for Anthony Richardson?
But then
32 yards.
It's immediately his fault if he's a bust.
But 2 rushing scores. So
yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So that's the part that I told you before that just pisses me off. I don't get it. Like, do you blame the kid for not? First of all, he's 22 years old.
Yeah. Still the youngest quarterback in the league, despite being drafted last year.
But
his
listen,
age shows.
Our locker room was a fucking nut house.
If he continues to show that improvement.
But what I'm saying is, you didn't put anybody there to help the kid learn that this is how this shit works. So you don't get a situation that we got that caused this whole fucking mess in the first place.
Do you think that benching him was a punishment?
Well,
it was a punishment.
It probably was for the.
I feel like
tap.
That was a punishment for the tap out.
Well, and this picture obviously is showing a little bit of the Colts fans who are resting a little bit easier, knowing things are actually possible that could be good with Anthony Richardson. But that leads to my next question, though, as Matt is kind of alluding to, was the benching good for him, though?
Yes. I think it was eye-opening.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these guys, it's the money, the NIL money, all this, it's the money. It catches when you have nothing and you get a large amount of something, it does something to you. No matter the intentions that you may have, the upbringing that you have, whatever the case may be, it's a lot of fucking money. And at the end of the day, he is still 22 years old. And I don't know about you, but when I was 22,
you gave me that kind of money at 22?
Stupid. But me
maybe
now would be pissed off at me then.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what were you doing? I was 22. I was doing whatever the hell I wanted to do. Hell, I was doing what I wanted to do and I was broke. So
I think you just got to give him definitely this year. I think you need to give him another year. Let him ride out his entire rookie contract, in my opinion, next 2 years.
Yep.
And if at that point you feel like he's done improving, fine. Even at the end of next year, I'd be okay with. But if he does what he did this last weekend, continues to at least show that kind of improvement, the kid's got potential. You just got to give him time.
I
knew that when you drafted him.
But you have to help him.
Agreed. I agree with that.
I don't foresee him winning this week.
No.
But
That's the next topic, though.
But I foresee him playing better this week.
Well, and here's the thing. It's a tough test this weekend, though, with the 9-1 Detroit Lions coming into Indianapolis. But temper expectations this week for Colts fans. After this week's matchup, though, the remainder of the schedule will be more manageable for the Colts. This is a big test for Indy.
Please, Indianapolis fans, please do not boo him if he throws 2 picks.
No, because that very well may happen this week.
Please do not do that. The Detroit Lions are in a very different position.
They're Super Bowl contenders at this point, okay?
Please do not go boo him or
I've said
boo
this
him
before,
off the
too.
field.
I've said this before, too. The Colts over the last few years, especially, even back in the Peyton days, would always play to their competition. So when a team like, say, the Kansas City Chiefs comes to town, the Colts are the only team in the NFL that Patrick Mahomes has not beaten yet.
Yeah, that's true.
Think about that for a second. Number two, so when Detroit Lions come into town, maybe the Colts come out and put their best foot forward and actually play like a playoff caliber
maybe
team.
they do.
And maybe they make a good game out of it, but don't expect that.
I just don't want us to look like Jacksonville did. Okay?
No.
I mean, we embarrassed ourselves on Sunday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings in that same sort of situation. So you might get something like that here. So
brother,
they
scored every time they got the ball.
And remember, the Detroit Lions were down against the Houston Texans by over 20-some points. Come back and still won that game.
Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions. Yeah. Anybody else in the league, you throw 5 interceptions, I promise you lost that game.
Yeah.
I promise you lost that game. Not only did they not lose, but you're right. They scored every time they touched the ball after that to bring the game, not only to tie it, but then beat the team that was beating them.
You see that picture you got up there, Eric, though?
Yeah, the Indiana Nights uniforms.
Them jerseys are
you
dope
see the
as
players
hell,
that are
though.
featured in that picture?
Yeah.
That's the future.
Oh, well, and that's the thing. That's the other thing, too. There was a thing I posted on Facebook. Almost all of the defensive players and offensive players are in their very early 20s.
Yes.
So a lot of the issues right now with the Colts could very well just be inexperience.
It is.
And they have to grow into these roles. So if that's the case, patience is a virtue.
Yes.
Give them 3 or 4 seasons, and we'll see where this current roster may be.
But
yeah, we still got to have, like Brendan mentioned, we got to have help. We got to have good play calls. We got to have all that.
We got to down the road. If
we got to get a big back there to help out Jonathan Taylor. We need a back who can just beat the defense up for 3 downs, and then JT gets in there.
A lot of people would say JT is the third guy, and then need another Zach Moss back there.
Yeah,
to kind of help out JT. You know what I mean?
Taylor is made of glass.
Yeah, he's been.
I'm
not going to. I'm not
my
jinxing
fantasy team. I said it.
He's been playing this year, though. He's just not doing what you want. He's not scoring touchdowns as much, which you should have known when they drafted Richardson that he was.
But at the same time, dude,
he's not the league leading rusher. At one point, he was the league leading rusher.
Oh yeah, I agree.
But we also had a bigger back there who again would beat the defense up for Jonathan Taylor to do that.
Who was that?
Wasn't it Zach Moss?
I don't think he was bigger.
Nope, it was
Is he
Frank
bigger
Gore.
too?
No,
Frank Gore. That was a while ago.
There was Naeem Hines and who?
Naeem Hines was there.
Yeah,
Naeem Hines. I still think Taylor's bigger than both of them.
It was
Marlon Mack.
Taylor's faster than both of them. Taylor's more of your speed back in a sense. Yeah, he is a big guy, but he's not like a.
I don't think he's in the league anymore.
Is he not really?
I don't think.
I don't think so.
Wow.
He's not like a Derrick Henry, who's also
not for long is what the NFL stands for.
Yeah.
No fun league.
Mack was awesome.
He's not like Derrick Henry, where you got size and downhill speed.
He's not small, but he's not Derrick Henry. No. Derrick Henry's a massive man.
Bulldozer.
But I just think we need that bully back.
Oh, I thought you said something. Sorry.
Hey, sorry.
Well, I'm trying to.
My bad.
Jump in, bro.
I was gonna say when Pierce has thrown the ball, he seems to do a good job.
What do you mean when
catching the ball? Yeah.
You mean
but they don't ever throw him the ball.
Oh,
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, they don't
help me out if they did.
They don't.
And to be fair, Pierce was another guy last year. I thought second year. I think it's his third season. But he wasn't really doing a whole lot. This year, he's progressing. He's becoming better receiver. So again, young guy, going to take a few years. So that's the case. Maybe in a year or two, maybe the Colts are going to be right up there too. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Still need a fucking tight end.
Throw him in the ball.
Yeah, I would like to see him go get a top tight end like a Kelsey or a Brock Bowers would have been a guy that you could have drafted this year that ended up
Do not draft.
Did you just say Kelsey was a top tight end?
At one point, maybe not now.
Yeah, no, not now.
Maybe not now. Yeah.
Draft Kelsey or trade for him. I do not want to watch a Colts game and see Swifties freaking everywhere.
We're not trading for Travis Kelsey. I think Kelsey's
let's not.
Probably on the downside of his career. That's not going to happen.
Yeah,
it's too much money too.
That's probably the last of Kelsey.
A couple of comments we had here. Mike said Joe Flacco is not the quarterback, so the Colts got a chance. And he also said my dad was a Cubs fan and was alive when they played in the 1945 World Series. He was 14.
God, damn.
Not. I know it's a touchy subject, I'm sure, but I can't remember if you said he was able to see the Cubs win the World Series or not.
I know that was a big thing when that happened.
I know he passed away, but yeah. Anyway, I
one of those Cubs was on the Yankees this year.
Oh yeah,
Anthony Rizzo.
We got a new commenter in the chat. Champy said best tight end in the NFL right now is Trey McBride. That's not a bad take.
Yep.
I mean, that's actually. He's very underrated in my opinion.
Trey McBride's a good tight end.
Absolutely is. I think he's a Cardinals fan too. If you can't tell by his, but hey, fair enough. Got to support your team.
Trey McBride's good.
Nothing wrong with that. So yeah. Let's see here. What else we got? Oh, I guess we got the slate of games for this week. There's 6 teams on bye. I'm calling this week Bye-Mageddon.
Week 14 about to be crazy.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, so definitely not making it easy on fantasy managers, including myself. Like I said, I got 5 guys on bye. So I'll tell you right now, I'm very interested in that Monday Night Football game, the Baltimore Ravens versus the Los Angeles Chargers. That could be interesting. That could very well be the best game of the week, in my opinion. I don't know.
What do you think? I don't know. Do you think Lamar diminishes his stock for MVP if he loses to Herbert?
Can you say it again?
Do you think Lamar would lose any stock as far as the MVP race goes if he loses to Justin?
I don't know if that would really affect my thinking on it. To me, it's more about what's your value to the team and can you take them to the playoffs or whatever. Whether you lose to another top quarterback, I just don't know if that would affect.
But that's the question: is Herbert considered a top quarterback right now? If you would do quarterback rankings,
if he continues at this pace, maybe by the end of the year, he should maybe be in a conversation. I'm not saying he shouldn't be.
That's what I'm saying. So,
but there's so many good candidates. I don't.
But he would be seen as a lesser QB in this situation.
Lamar would be?
No.
If he loses?
Herbert would be.
Oh, Herbert.
Right?
If Herbert loses?
For Herbert to beat him. I'm saying going into the game, if you were ranking the 2 in the top 5, Herbert's not in the top 5.
No. But it would definitely shoot him upwards if he was able to beat Lamar. Yeah.
But then would that diminish Lamar?
I don't think so. I mean, I really don't. I think at this point, Herbert's got nothing to lose. Lamar maybe would a little, but I just don't see that being a big factor.
So you think no matter what, Lamar would still be in the what?
He'll be in the conversation.
Top 3 of even the
him, Mahomes, obviously.
And who's your third?
It depends on what the Bills do. Maybe.
I think it's. This is me here.
I mean, Herbert should be maybe up there. I mean, based on record. Now the Steelers.
I'll give you. Now hold on.
It'd be more probably defensive type stuff. Yeah.
I think it would be Mahomes, obviously. Lamar.
But it doesn't always have to be a quarterback either.
Allen.
Mahomes is in the script.
It'll be more or less. It would be if we're going another offensive player, Saquon, or even Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's on pace to break a lot of rushing yards.
I mean that's the thing. Like it could be it could be a receiver.
But it's usually quarterbers. We all know that.
It usually is. Yeah, it just how the way it goes. Mike did comment and said his dad did see the Cubs win in 2016, so I'm glad to hear that. He passed in 2018, that's great. And I'm sure if I remember correctly, I remember you saying something about he was able to see it, so that's awesome.
That was a big thing. I didn't realize how big that was until that game, and there were people who took off work for that game.
Well, yeah, because it was like what first time what do you say 45? So yeah.
I don't want to talk about the World Series. Can we talk about it?
Still a sore spot for our friend Matt there for sure. So I guess we'll be done with the sports tonight.
Anyway,
yeah. So anyway,
talk about sports. Just don't talk about the World Series.
Still talking about
Sunday night game looks good. Sunday slate.
It's going to be rougher without all. It's going to be rougher without all the bye teams in there.
Oh, look
There's
at
a lot of
that
good
one
ones.
at 1 o'clock, right underneath the Buccaneers and the Giants game. That's going to be a beautiful loss.
108 years. How does that, Mike? Was the Coast fan alive when they played in the 1940? Oh, they didn't win that World Series.
No, they did not.
Okay, I was trying to figure out
They
math
lost.
on that one. Gotcha. Okay.
They lost that game. They lost that World Series to the New York Yankees.
You had to stick that knife in and twist it, didn't you?
So, anyway.
Yeah.
27
like,
time champion.
so-
Hey, Green Bay and San Francisco could be good, but no Brock Purdy this week. Yeah.
It's like both 1 o'clock games are a miss for me. Two of them.
4 of them. Yeah, I was gonna say.
I see I see 3 upsets.
I think the
The
Bears.
Chiefs are going to take their anger out on the Panthers.
Yeah, but
That's
there's no
what's
point
gonna
to
happen.
watch
They win
that
that
game.
game.
That's one of those games that's like, I'm not watching that shit. And
Yeah.
I'm sad to say this, but
What are the Chiefs angry about?
They lost last
losing?
week for the first time.
I have
Yeah.
what if the Titans
They lost?
Yep.
Yeah, they lost
for
to
the
the
first
Bills.
time this year. So there's no more undefeated teams in the NFL.
Why does that make me happy?
It should. I'm glad.
It does. I know exactly why.
Swifty tears all over the
I
place.
love
Dead
listening
ass.
to a friend that enjoys a
That's crocodile tears. It's okay.
you know the 425 game I'm interested in watching and real talk, the Cardinals and the Seahawks.
That could be
Simply
sneaky.
because
That could be
Kyler
sneaky
Murray,
for our
Kyler
Cardinals friend in
Murray
the
is
chat.
like
Yeah.
he doing his thing quietly.
Yeah.
His thing.
And no offense to Champy, but I'll tell you right now, I'm a little upset that old Marvin Harrison Jr. couldn't come to Indy. I just say,
Yeah,
that's where his dad played.
that's
But
bullshit.
kudos to you. There's no way we were getting him in the draft anyway.
Fuck no.
I hope he does well for you guys. I really do. Yeah, so I don't know. It could be a good slate. And again, the Colts Lions game could be interesting depending on what Colts team shows up.
You're gonna get last week's team, but it ain't gonna matter.
Yeah. Well, even the Patriots Dolphins could be sneaky depending on if the Patriots come to play. I mean,
Yeah.
the Dolphins have not played their best football, so
All right.
there's some sneaky games there.
And I want to know your real opinion. First of all, that Bucks New York game should be ass all the way around.
Should be.
What?
What do you really think about that Washington and Dallas game?
If Dallas had Dak Prescott, it might be interesting, but I think Washington wins that one.
No.
No
I
offense
don't
to our
think
buddy
so.
Nate.
I don't think
But
if they
even
had-
he's admitting it's not the best team.
I don't think even if they had Dak, it would be that interesting of a fucking game.
Nope.
I'm gonna be real honest with you.
I will
I
never
think
know.
Dallas
Well, maybe we'll see it next year, but I ain't gonna lie to you.
Dude,
I don't know if
Hold on.
Nate's watching this, but I'm gonna go on a limb here. Did they re-sign Dak Prescott?
They signed Dak for
recently?
a lot of money.
I'm just saying I wouldn't be stunned if they move on.
I wouldn't be either.
I mean, nothing against
McCarthy-
Dak. I think he's a
look,
good guy. and he's a good
McCarthy's
player,
going at
but-
the end of the season anyway. Like,
But part of that
McCarthy's
too,
gone.
like to Brandon's credit though, is like you said, you got to help him out some too.
All right.
You got
They-
CD.
they-
That's about it right
Hey,
now.
you better. The only person you can talk to about it is Jerry.
I know. Gary was Jim Irsay. They're kind of 1A and 1B at times.
Imagine Jim Irsay being your general manager, and that's what it's like for Cowboys fans right now. They are in like general manager hell. I mean, it's just how
But
it
your
is.
general manager is the owner of the team.
I
There you
know.
go, Norm. Yeah.
I just.
Well, I don't want
I'm
anything bad to
sorry.
happen to the guy for sure. but-
I just
All
the
I'm
3
saying
upsets
is-
I see Denver. I'm not really gonna call it upset. I say Denver beats the Raiders. I say the upset I have is at the bottom of the screen where I have Los Angeles beating the Eagles.
I don't know about that one.
The more I'm staring at it, the more some of these games might actually be pretty decent.
The
I
third
mean,
upset will make.
I'm not gonna
the
lie
third-
to you.
The third upset will make Eric very happy
Which is?
Man, I don't know.
because I have the Colts beating the Lions.
That's not
Oh,
gonna
thanks
happen.
for. Well, we've lost that one.
I
It's like
feel
when you were
bad.
running your mouth about the Ohio State game. Well, it's gonna
I
be a
feel
rough
bad
weekend.
for San Francisco. I'm not gonna lie.
The
to you.
only reason why I think the Colts will beat the Lions is because the Lions are going to sleep through this game.
No, they're not. They haven't slept through a
Yeah.
single game.
I don't
and that
think
was
their
my
head coach
point.
is going to allow that.
Yeah, I do
that
not
was
agree
my
with you.
point with what I was talking about the Lions the other day. The Lions play
I could be wrong.
everybody the same, no matter if it is the fucking Jaguars who they destroyed. They play them just as hard as they play teams where it's a close fucking game. It does not matter. I think the Lions are setting a precedent and the stage for this is
Brandon.
our fucking year, no matter what.
The
Talk
best,
about the grit story, Brandon.
the The best game of this week was already played, in my opinion. I think it was played on Thursday night. And
let's say that if the rest of the games don't live up to it. So
I said it was a game of the year.
It was a perfect football weather game.
Yeah, it was a game of the year.
Perfect my ass. As a fan, I would not sit there in that shit.
So what was the story, Brandon?
The whole kneecap thing. We're gonna fall down. We're gonna bite some kneecaps on the way up.
Yeah.
And like that's how they play. No matter what. And then grit. You gotta have grit.
Gotta have grit.
Dan Campbell is the best, literally the best head coach in the league right now. And he should get coach of the year.
Oh yeah. I mean it's not I didn't say they sucked. I just said
I don't know, man. It depends on what that Washington team does. They might be in the running for that.
I mean, Washington is coming on.
Because you got to talk about turning a team around. Some of that too. Like, I mean, the Lions were good, last few years, so that's not a surprise. Not saying it's not deserved if Dan Campbell wins, but
I heard the whole dissertation. I've heard the whole dissertation, on the whole name change back to the original name. And I think they should do it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to come sooner than you might. Well, I don't know about sooner, but I think eventually it will happen. Because, I mean, the way our culture's kind of shifted a little bit, I'm hoping that means it'll
the very people that you said you was mad for weren't even mad about it. They were mad that you did it.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully we'll get that happening too. So we'll have to wait.
Well, you think Uncle Ben was happy he got taken off the rice?
Yeah, that's wild work right there, too.
Aunt Jemima?
Y'all took that man's whole legacy and was like racist. What? It's his. He did it. It's his actual face. This ain't a paid actor, bitch. What did you talk about?
Cleveland Indians.
I don't know. That one pissed me off.
I mean, he's getting paid just not to act.
Yeah.
That shit pissed me off for real. I said, Indians, what? What are we doing?
It should piss off anybody. That's more racist.
Chief Wahoo is the shit, man. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah. Removing people of color, of any color, off of something because you believe it's racist is more racist.
Yeah, I agree. It's more racist than it would have been just to leave it on there. Yeah,
it's just wild.
Yeah, you're trying to erase their history. That's not cool. So yeah, well that'll kind of segue us into our political section, as we always end our shows on every single week. So if any of you are watching for the first time and you're probably not more on the Trump side of things, you're probably not going to like this segment, so I understand. But we're going to get into our final segment of the show. Let's get into politics. All right. So we got a lot of stuff going on here in the world of politics since the election. Obviously, as we said, when Trump won the election, it was a major victory, but the fight is not over. Evil is definitely not going to go away quietly. They're going to go away kicking.
That cartoon is crazy work.
We broke Aaron.
Oh my gosh. I care more about getting to January 20th than Christmas. That might sound like sacrilegious or something. But I don't know.
That's wild.
Yeah, it might be a little blasphemous, but let's be careful there.
Okay,
wild.
This is probably why. Maybe I should explain myself. So Christmas is all about spending money. The prospects of January 20th is me getting more money.
Yes.
Fair enough. And tax returns will be coming up early in the year too.
That's wild.
Yeah, there you go. Mike with a quick chat. He said, "Wait, this World War III talk is not about the old WCW 3-ring battle royal." Well, I'm out. Thanks for joining us, Mike. We'll see you next week, buddy. Thanks for commenting. It always makes the show fun for sure. You're welcome to stick around, but yeah, it's definitely not going to be about WCW. So
that's wild.
So last week Donald Trump met with. We ended the show on the channel on the podcast last week with Trump meeting with Joe Biden in the White House, Biden promising a smooth and peaceful transition. But if this is Joe Biden's idea of a peaceful transition, he's completely full of shit. Because when Joe Biden was not too busy, when he was not too busy visiting Jurassic Park.
Time out. Is this man?
Yes. Look at him.
Wild. Drop another walk off and go, "Hey, my tiger."
He's in the Amazon.
Yeah,
They
he's
should just let him go.
walking into the rainforest.
20 minutes.
There he is.
Oh,
I haven't seen this. I have no idea what's about to happen. This could be bad.
Elect me. I'm 20th century, 21st century. Just come on, man. Come on.
That's wild.
Okay, I don't know if I needed to see that, but anyhow, I didn't know that part was going to be at the end of that video clip.
No, that's okay.
But anyway, when he wasn't too busy visiting Jurassic Park, which, you know, they spared no expense. Not a joke. Not a joke. Seriously. But when he wasn't too busy doing that, he was escalating the war in Ukraine to elevate it into possibly a world war. So, yeah. Can someone explain to me why Joe Biden is provoking Vladimir Putin on his way out?
Because he's a dumbass.
I mean,
because
Joe
that's
Biden,
all they want to do is start World War III.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
a dumbass. I'll give you that answer.
Is Biden and the deep state trying to start World War III just so Trump can't deliver peace like he promised?
Dumbass.
I mean, after 1,000 days in the war with Ukraine and Russia, now Biden chooses to escalate this? I mean, before we get deep into this whole thing, here's the older millennial, one of our favorites here on the channel, explaining real quick the history of the Russia-Ukraine-United States conflict.
Please do.
So this video is 100% going to get me labeled as a Putin apologist
Kinda
or
quiet,
a
hope you
Russian agent. But it's got to be said that the United States and NATO are directly responsible for Russia invading Ukraine. Like, sure, Russia bears responsibility, but like 90% of the blame is on the US and NATO. And look, I'm not basing that on my opinion. I have no love for Russia, but it's a verifiable historical fact that the vast majority of this falls at the feet of NATO and the United States. Now, before y'all fucking lose your shit in my comments, let me explain. Let's talk about the history of it. So in 1990, there was a famous meeting between James Baker, who was the US Secretary of State, and Mikhail Gorbachev, who was in charge of Russia. And in that meeting, which we have the fucking transcripts for, Russia agreed to support German unification, and the United States and NATO agreed to no more eastern expansion of NATO. The actual wording was, we will not move 1 inch towards Russia. Gorbachev agreed. They signed a treaty, and that was that. Then, just 4 years later in 1994, Bill Clinton broke that treaty and signed off on a deal that would allow NATO to expand all the way to Ukraine, which is on the Russian border. Now, that plan actually went into effect in 1999, when NATO added Poland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic. Now, when that happened, Russia could have flipped the fuck out. It could have started a military conflict over it, but they actually let it slide because none of those countries directly border them. Now, later in 1999, the U.S. led the bombing of Serbia. Now, a lot of you are probably too young to remember how fucking bad that was, and it was bad. It was basically the United States and NATO bombing Belgrade for 78 days in a row, all with the express intention of breaking up that country, which was a Russian ally. And again, even though a direct ally of Russia was attacked and had their country completely fucking torn apart, they didn't respond. Putin took power, let it slide in the interest of maintaining world peace. And the wild thing is, his only actual response was to open negotiations for Russia to join NATO, which was flatly rejected by the United States. And even after the United States completely rejected them, in 2001, when we invaded Afghanistan, Russia supported us. They openly supported us in our fight against the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. Then a year later, the United States pulls out of the Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty. We followed this up by deploying missile systems in every NATO country and made sure that the missiles that we installed were capable of reaching Russia. Like, that's a direct threat. And if you disagree and think that's not a direct threat, go ahead and dial the time machine back to 1962, when Russia wanted to put missile systems in an allied sovereign country that had the capability of reaching the United States. It's known as the Cuban Missile Crisis. And the United States was willing to start another world fucking war to stop that from happening. Now, what did Russia do in response to this? They asked for sanctions. They petitioned the UN to sanction the United States. They didn't attack, they didn't invade, they didn't do anything, but asked for sanctions. Then in 2004, the United States continued its expansion towards Russia by adding Latvia, Estonia, Bulgaria, Romania, Lithuania, Slovakia, and Slovenia, all in violation of our treaty. Then in 2005, the United States decided to execute a regime change in Ukraine, which again, let me remind you, directly borders Russia. Now, thankfully for world peace, Yanukovych was elected in 2009 on the basis of neutrality. His whole platform was that Ukraine does not join NATO, it doesn't join Russia, it remains a neutral state. And then 5 years later, the United States openly and directly participates in the overthrow of Yanukovych. Like, we didn't even hide that we were doing it. We directly and openly overthrew a government that wanted to remain neutral. And we know we did it for a fact because Russia actually intercepted the phone call where American agents and the American diplomats were discussing who we were going to remove and who we were going to put in power. They broadcasted it worldwide to embarrass the United States. But do you know what Russia did in response to that? Fucking nothing, besides ask the United Nations for sanctions. No attacks, no invasions, just sanctions. Then, after all of that happened, in December 2021, Putin actually proposed a Russian-United States security agreement, where the only thing he requested was no further NATO expansion eastwards towards Russia. That was the only fucking thing he wanted. And he was willing to sign a security agreement with the United States saying he would support us. And the only thing he wanted was something the United States and NATO were already under treaty not to do. Well, we flatly rejected that. The Biden administration didn't even engage in negotiations over it. They basically just said, fuck no. So basically what you have leading up to the invasion of Ukraine is the United States and NATO for more than 30 years violating their own treaty and doing exactly what we promised not to do. Over and over again, NATO and the United States kept expanding towards Russia. And Russia, over and over again, lets it slide for more than 30 fucking years. Then the tipping point was when the United States installed their little puppet government in Ukraine. Russia invades Ukraine, and magically, Russia is the only bad guy in all of this. You can't expect to be able to violate treaties for 30 years, deploy missile systems into every country in Russia. And then when you're about to do it again in a country directly bordering them, a country where half the citizens are ethnically Russian, and expect Russia to do nothing. By the way, 5 days after Russia invaded Ukraine, Zelensky in Ukraine tried to agree to neutrality, an action that would have ended the conflict right there. But the US and NATO forced Ukraine not to agree to that. And here we are with close to 1 million dead Ukrainians, all for a conflict that could have ended after 5 days. So is Russia the bad guy? Sure, don't invade sovereign nations. But you know what the US and NATO shouldn't have been doing? Violating treaties for 3 decades. Expanding our military alliance closer and closer and closer to Russia's border. Putting missile systems in all of those countries, making sure they have the capability of reaching the Russian capital, all while executing regime change in many of these nations to puppet governments that the United States controls. The US and NATO shouldn't be bombing Russian allies for 78 days and completely destroying their country. And here's the thing, if the US and NATO are going to do all that, that's fine. That's how shit works in the world. But the United States and NATO, we sure as fuck don't get to call ourselves the good guys.
So I know it was kind of long, but I thought it was at least important to at least understand some context here. And obviously everything that I think that a lot of times, everything the media tells you about Russia isn't always 100% true. Biden is definitely pushing his luck with Putin, if you ask me. Let's be clear though, the US is doing this right now. I don't care who started the war with Ukraine and Russia right now, and I'm not defending Russia here at all. But without direct involvement from NATO or the United States actually getting involved militarily, Ukraine was never going to win this war. You can fund them all you want, but Russia has them outgunned unless you directly get involved. The United States loves to preach to Iran about their proxy wars, yet the United States is using Russia, or Ukraine, I should say, as a proxy to attack Russia. Biden approves use of long-range U.S. missiles to attack targets inside Russia, and Biden originally approved this back in September, but backed down after Vladimir Putin promised a nuclear retaliation and would hold the U.S. directly responsible if we did this. But now that Trump won the election, Biden decides now is the time to call Russia's bluff, and he launched at least 6 ATACMS missiles into Russia, or he allowed Ukraine to use these missiles to fire into Russia this week, I should say. We didn't do it directly. Yeah, I mean, Russia claims, though, it did shoot down these missiles, but this was a red line that Russia said the United States must not cross, and we just crossed it. Interesting timing on Biden's part, to say the least, wouldn't you say? I mean, 2 months before Trump takes power? Here's one of our friends, Alexandra's response to this.
That's my claw.
That's the Democrat way. I'm so tired of waking up and witnessing a reckless unraveling of global stability from our government who seems to want to light fuses more than secure peace. Dementia patient Biden, back at it again, authorized Ukraine to use long-range U.S. missiles against Russia. Putin stated that if Ukraine uses U.S. missiles on them, they will consider an act of war against the U.S. This morning, Ukraine uses said U.S. missiles to strike Russia. Do you get the picture? Is trying to enact World War III the peaceful transition you were referring to, Biden? Because I don't think that means what you think it means. You know what? Let me give him the benefit of the doubt. It probably wasn't even Biden because he's too busy walking into the Amazon rainforest. We have a government that is ready to escalate a war in order to save democracy from big bad Trump. We are literally being ruled by criminals who seek to destroy. And I'm praying this lifts the veil for some of you whose eyes have remained closed to it all. Any sensible American detests war, which is why we voted the way we did 2 weeks ago. And trying to escalate global tensions months before a transfer of power is a level of sabotage we had yet to see until now.
So yeah, she nailed that. 100% if you ask me.
Yep.
In response to this though, Russia has lowered its nuclear threshold to allow the country to use nuclear weapons now. And as of yesterday, Russia reportedly responded by firing an ICBM into Ukraine. The first time in history an ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile, has been used in an active war. So this is definitely an escalation in this potential, world war here. Let's hope it doesn't get to that point. But here's, footage of that, ICBM striking Ukraine. Supposedly that's what this footage is here. It's been traveling around the internet here. These type of missiles are capable of carrying a nuclear payload. But it doesn't appear that there was any nuclear payload with the ones that was fired into Ukraine, though. Need the audio. But there's no reliable or effective defense system proven capable of stopping ICBMs. Countries' only defense is to have your own ICBMs pointed at your enemy at the same time. And basically, it's also known as MAD, mutually assured destruction, where if one country shoots it, the other country the only thing they can do is shoot back, and both countries destroy each other. That's the only thing that can stop these things right now. That's provable and reliable. So
1, 2, 3. I'm counting.
Well, it's just, if you look at that, the beginning of it here where they break apart the warheads or whatever, the tips,
Okay.
Missile. That's basically what, and all those warheads there can be armed with nuclear capacity. So you could be potentially dropping 6, 7, 8 nuclear bombs at one time if you wanted to. So this is serious shit. You know what I'm saying? And Biden provoked this because now, you got, Putin responding.
That's because Biden's an idiot.
Yeah. Well, again, he's trying to call his bluff now because he thinks, well, Trump's going to go in. Now we can do whatever we want, but anyway, but yeah.
All right. I hate to interrupt, but I don't think I can hang tonight. I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow though.
Okay. All right. We ain't got
It's been an early day for me.
So. Oh yeah, you're fine. All right. Thanks for being on. Awesome.
See you guys
later.
Yep.
So yeah. Yeah. Okay. So now there doesn't appear to be any high yield payload on these missiles fired into Ukraine. They were essentially for show only in this case. These were warning shots from Putin. Putin is actually showing restraint here while also announcing to the West that they are outgunned should they continue to push him. The next ones could very well have nuclear payload attached if Biden and NATO continues to, quote, fuck around and find out. So you combine all of that with reports that this Chinese fishing vessel cut undersea communication lines in the Baltic Sea because the first move in a war is to disrupt communications with or of your enemy.
Yeah.
So the ship was detained by a Danish warship. Needless to say, tensions are high right now.
This is wild.
This is some scary stuff.
What's that right there?
The little ship is a fishing ship that supposedly cut communication lines underwater in the Baltic Sea, and it was intercepted and detained by a Danish warship. So may not be nothing. Of course, they're going to claim they didn't do it, things like that. So it's a he said, she said thing in war, potentially. But it's just something, that's got people's attention, So especially when the Chinese are involved, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So now I don't believe Putin will escalate this further, if at all possible. He's not stupid. He knows Donald Trump is coming back to office in 60 days. And not only that, Putin has openly said he's ready for peace talks if Donald Trump leads the negotiations. He's not interested in them with Biden at the helm. But But can this potential powder keg last another 60 days? That's the concern right now. I think we all have to pray all parties will chill out until Trump can come back into office and calm things down.
That might be why instead of sending actual nuclear missiles, he just sent warning shots because he's trying to get them to back off.
Yeah.
So that way we can actually have peace talks.
I don't think he'll shoot nuclear.
No, because what everybody fails to realize, and I don't see how,
is where that goes.
Putin is he loves Russia.
Yeah.
He loves his country more than you think you love yours. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, say what you want about him. You can't take that from the guy.
No.
And the last thing he wants to do is destroy that country.
Yes.
But that's not to say he fucking won't. Just to prove to you that he's way more patriotic than you are.
Well, not only that, if Ukraine on the authority of the United States are hucking missiles at him, what do you expect him to do?
But I do think he also knows his best, and war ain't it. This wasn't a thing he did again on a whim here, as though it was made out to be like that in the beginning. It was just made out to be he was a madman. And given his track record,
and he's got madman tendencies, and he's done some bad stuff.
Eric,
Not defending Russia.
But
was Ukraine in the Soviet Union originally?
I think some of the land may have been, which is what Putin's argument is, but
Ukraine
I don't know. I'd have to look into it further.
But anyway,
it's a complicated thing.
Putin believes that that's rightfully his.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
At the end of the day, he doesn't want anything like that to happen. He honestly doesn't. But again, this is a case of 30 years. This man let y'all lie to him, do all this shit. It's with anything. You can only push a person so fucking far. And I'm praying, just like everybody else, that he holds on just for a little bit longer.
And
I don't think it was too long ago that Putin himself said that the West has lost their way.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what he was talking about. Maybe he was talking about like the under the table deals that we've been doing to kind of
everybody does that.
Pseudo
politics is a dirty game. Everybody does that.
Well, he was also talking about like woke culture and transgender stuff, which I don't disagree with him on that one. I don't. I mean, and hopefully that's starting to switch a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot of things, corruption, all sorts of stuff he was talking about when he was making that speech about that. But yeah, I don't know. It's scary to think about, but it's a dire subject to talk about.
War isn't a fun subject, man.
No. Especially when you're talking nuclear war. Nuclear war now, a lot of people will think, oh, it's like dropping bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. No, the nuclear weapons they have now make those look like play toys. Okay, it's not even a close thing. A firecracker.
Like
it
you
would
see
be
that
catastrophic.
Yeah, that thing he launched
weapon on the United States, it would cover half the eastern seaboard.
Not to mention the fallout.
Yeah. And the way the technology works is like you can pinpoint areas. And this is not something anyone needs.
Nobody, and that's why nobody's done it to each other yet. Because if one person launches those nukes, like let's say Putin did it, whoever he's launching them at are going to launch nukes at him, and again, mutually assured destruction. So it's a deterrent in and of itself to some respects.
And depending on who started what, there's allies that will then target. You know what I mean? So then
they'll defend them, and then the world blows up. That's what'll happen. It's not good. I mean, obviously, there are things in the Bible, in the book of like Zechariah, I think talks about 2/3 of the world will die and only a third will be saved. It definitely. I mean, I don't want to get dour or scare anybody, obviously, but the book of Revelations and things talk about things like that could happen. I hope to God we don't live to see such times, but that is something worth considering here.
I will be in the third.
Well, no, I'm not talking about saved going to heaven. I'm talking about saved that will survive on the planet.
I did say that. I will be the third.
Oh, you go to be like a cockroach? You go to hide?
Yes.
Okay. You don't think you got to say in that, brother?
Trust me.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Him and Twinkies.
Yeah, him and Twinkies.
That's right.
I mean, he is building a house. Who's to say isn't building a bunker?
I mean, who knows? I mean, yeah, that's another thing. Russia's building those too. So anyway, just pray, everyone. Hopefully this doesn't escalate further. But it's interesting to know where we are right now.
I pray that it does not go any further.
Exactly. This week, for less dire topics, Biden, a little bit related. Biden sent more money to Ukraine this week, over $200 million. Of
course,
and now And now he and Congress want to forgive Ukraine for their $4.7 billion in loans and not make them pay them back. So that's fun. Thanks, Joe. It's like, God.
That's wild.
Like the cartoon at the beginning. January 20th can't come here soon enough. A little more lighthearted, though. Donald Trump appeared at the UFC 309 pay-per-view last weekend, and he got to see John Bone Jones defend his title, I believe. I know he had the title. I don't know if he was defending it or not.
No, I think he won it.
Okay. Well, afterwards, he gave Donald Trump the title belt at cage side, and he even did Donald Trump's dance in the ring to kind of celebrate.
He did the Trump dance. He did the Trump dance.
Joe Rogan is losing his mind on commentary. But yeah, so I mean, again, this is just good to see. It just feels like, everyone is just kind of starting to accept Trump more now than they used to. Before, it was like it was almost you were ashamed to even mention his name or support him in public. And now everybody. We'll cancel the audio there. But yeah, this is just the NFL. But college players were doing this as well in their touchdown celebrations, doing Trump dances. So yeah, there were even rumors flying around that the NFL wanted to ban the dance, but the NFL has since come out and said that the dance does not violate any rule and will be allowed to continue if players choose to use it. So I was actually kind of surprised to hear that from the NFL since they went all in for Colin Kaepernick's kneeling down during the national anthem and all the BLM propaganda they've been pushing. So yeah, I mean, I was just good to hear and see that, and that led to Nick Bosa, who got fined for wearing a Trump hat after one of their games and for the 49ers, and now I guess everybody realizes that we like Trump now, so the dance is perfectly acceptable. And here's Nick Bosa also doing the dance as well. So just again, it's just good to see that people are finally starting to get on board, or at least coming out of the woodwork.
Why did they fine him?
Who? I think it was like $11,000 or something like that.
If that was him wearing a Harris hat, nobody'd say shit.
Well, no. Here's the thing. Yeah. I will say this: the NFL is very particular about what players wear on their screen. If it ain't endorsed by the NFL, you bet not have it on.
Not only that, I think there is a rule, to be fair to the NFL, that you are not allowed to wear anything politically affiliated on screen during games.
There is a rule.
That's from what I understand. So if that's the case, I get it. But Nick Bosa also said. Nick Bosa also said it was the best fine he ever paid, so he wasn't too upset about it. But
losing sleep over that.
No, so but at least it's good to see that they're allowing the dance, because again, doesn't violate that rule. They're not wearing anything Trump related; they're just dancing. But anyway,
having fun. Let the kids let them have fun.
Let them have a little fun. I agree. It does feel like the culture's shifting a bit, though, back to normalcy and common sense. Even the UFC's Dana White thinks so. This was him talking after that pay-per-view that Trump was at last weekend.
Well, if you saw the election, the entire country relates with Trump right now. Won all the swing states. The only states she won were the ones that you didn't need ID to vote in. It would have been interesting if you needed ID, how that would have played out too. I think that the whole country, it feels like somebody hit the reset button. Everything feels and well, if you saw,
So again, as Dana points out, it just feels like the whole country hit the reset button. It feels like a little bit of a weight has been lifted, especially in conservative circles. For sure,
there is something to do with that voter ID. There's some cheese in there.
But yes, the culture has shifted so much, though. The stuff the right would normally tolerate just to appease the left on their nonsense, the right isn't taking it anymore. And it's about time, in my opinion. A prime example of that, Nancy Mace, shown on the left, who is a senator, made waves this week in Congress as she proposed a bill that would not allow trans women, aka men, in the women's bathrooms on Capitol Hill. The controversy started as Delaware, Biden's home state, became the first state to elect a trans person to Congress. That person, as pictured on the right there, is Sarah McBride of Delaware. Originally, he was named Tim McBride. So good on Nancy Mace, in my opinion, to stand up for women's rights on Capitol Hill. Is that a man? Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Dude, were you seriously not paying attention?
No, I was listening. I'm just
hey, you were the one who missed the Chiefs lost the game a while ago, so don't say too much.
Oh, hey, I was dealing with kids.
Fair enough. Matt's too busy playing his video game.
I can't be distracted, but the one who has kids can.
Okay, a video game and kids are two different things, my guy.
Okay.
My guy.
A video game you can pause generally.
I am
kids. You can't pause. If you could pause kids,
Bruh.
That would have been an amazing.
Oh my god. I'd have used that feature so much, dude.
Children
parents would get so much sleep.
Okay.
The why questions for a second, just boop.
Exactly. Be like the movie Click. You'd be ready to control out. But this whole controversy brought out Speaker Mike Johnson, and he had to give a statement that is so common sense, it's like he shouldn't have even had to give it.
Hello, everybody. I just want to make a statement for all of you here and be very clear. I was asked a question this morning at the leadership gaggle, and I rejected the premise because the answer is so obvious. For anybody who doesn't know my well-established record on this issue, let me be unequivocally clear. A man is a man, and a woman is a woman, and a man cannot become a woman. That said, I also believe, that's what Scripture teaches, what I just said, but I also believe that we treat everybody with dignity. And so we can do and believe all those things at the same time. And I wanted to make that clear for everybody because there's lots of questions, but that's where I stand.
Yeah. So again, why we're living in a timeline where he somehow had to address that question. I don't know why, but here's Nancy Mace, obviously pushing back on some of the woke ideology that has been attacking her this week since she proposed that bill.
So what is this?
This says you can't erase us, Nancy. Well, then you shouldn't try to erase women. I have to say, for any man that wants to be in a woman's restroom, bathroom, dressing room, locker room, absolutely not.
Good for her, in my opinion. Of course, she got pushback. She even went so far as to suggest that there shouldn't be any trans women allowed in all federal buildings, women's bathrooms. Time will tell if that one ends up getting passed.
You shouldn't be pushed back. There shouldn't be any pushback to it.
No, because the left likes to say they're for women's rights, but when they actually attack women in like sports or in this sort of situation where women are most vulnerable in the bathroom, the left's got nothing to say about that. That's
the woman in San Jose State, she's suing a trans volleyball player for attacking her.
Yeah.
It's
going all over the place. Go ahead, Aaron.
I don't know if many of you have seen some videos of men who are transitioning into women, but some of them look like predators.
Yeah.
They look like
probably are.
I mean, the senator that we just showed didn't look like a predator. I didn't get predator vibes from him. So he's probably, or she probably truly feels like a woman.
Yeah.
But a majority of the ones that I have seen, they look like predators. They look like they will go into the women's bathroom and touch your child.
Or the woman, or whoever's in there, yeah.
Or the woman.
Yeah.
More than likely your child, because that's how it is.
Yeah, it's just scary. Nancy Mace was also rushed. Well, you don't see the rushing part here. I think they were being escorted out by a trans activist, and she had a great comeback here as well. I think she was talking about the internet at some other, event.
It's ridiculous. It is the day after Trans Day of Visibility. We have had dozens of trans people die this year because of the hate and lies that you are spreading. And if we want an internet, are we building an internet with free speech for everyone or just the privileged few? Are you going to stand up to the lives of trans people, black and brown people? Are we fighting for justice or are we fighting for big tech? I thought we were fighting for justice here.
That his penis isn't going to be in my bathroom. So,
his penis isn't going to be in my bathrooms. I don't know how old that video was, though. I think Trans Day of Visibility may have been a while ago, but either way, she's still standing up for her values. She's not changed on that.
That's a day?
Yeah. Huh?
That's a day?
Oh, yeah. They've got a lot of days, brother. The whole LGBTQ community does.
You can disagree with scripture, you can disagree with physical appearance, whatnot. But at the end of the day, and I told this to Brandon, if you die and an archaeologist finds your body like 1,000 years from now, then you'll be one or two genders.
Yeah. Gender and sex are different, don't you know? No.
Look at
the last 10 to 15 years.
Skeleton.
The only thing they might find is they might find the silicone that determines that you were trying to transition. I don't know.
No. See, that's the thing. You got to follow the science until you don't. So it's just stupid. While I fully agree with Nancy Mace here, we got World War III potentially on the horizon, and Congress is arguing over balls and stalls. So
it's arguing. It's arguing, not arguing.
Arguing over balls and stalls. Better? It's been a long night. I'm slurring words. Sorry. And I'm sober. So there you go. But moving on from that, this week, MSNBC's Morning Joe hosts Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski visit Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago, and they got pushback from their own party for daring to meet with Adolf Hitler. Maybe because you called him Hitler for the past 7 years. Here's a before the election video juxtaposed with an after the election video of them sharing why they met with Trump.
And then he says that the news network that is most critical of him should be taken off the air. This is not a reach. I could go back and talk about Nazi Germany, and I do it without any concerns whatsoever. And if people can't start drawing the parallels, well, you're just stupid, or you have your head in the sand, or you're one of them.
Over the past week, Joe and I have heard from so many people, from political leaders to regular citizens, deeply dismayed by several of President-elect Trump's cabinet selections, and they are scared. Last Thursday, we expressed our own concerns on this broadcast and even said we would appreciate the opportunity to speak with the president-elect himself. On Friday, we were given the opportunity to do just that. Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump. It was the first time we have seen him in 7 years.
Now, we talked about a lot of issues, including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents, and media outlets. We talked about that a good bit. And it's going to come as no surprise to anybody who watches this show, has watched it over the past year or over the past decade, that we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues, and we told him so.
Can't imagine why.
But they also said that they're open to discussions and talking with him further. Translation: lips meet ass. We're sorry we lied about you for years, Donald. So much so we're no longer relevant. We need as much attention as we can get to stay relevant. So can we get some early morning interviews from you, Mr. President?
No.
Also, please don't hold us accountable anytime soon. That's basically what they just were asking for here. So yeah, this is pathetic. Speaking of bad media, The View ran a segment this week explaining how they think that they are the truth tellers in media. No, seriously, they think they're the truth tellers.
Eric, can I have that picture?
I can send it to you if you want, I guess.
Okay.
But if they were seriously the truth tellers, is that why they have been forced to constantly read legal statements correcting their lies on air, so they don't get sued? They had a bunch of those this week alone.
How could you nominate someone with allegations of child trafficking across state lines and having sex with a 17-year-old? My understanding further on in the interview, they discussed the fact that once he finds out that she's 17, he stops having sex with her.
Sonny, you have a legal note.
I do have a legal note. Thank you, Whoopi.
She looks so mad. She's got to read this.
Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented, and saying in a statement to ABC News that this false smear following a 3-year criminal investigation should be viewed with great skepticism. That DOJ investigation was closed with no charges being brought.
We'll be right back.
So that was Wednesday. So, I mean, Wednesday, then on Thursday, they had to read another one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a legal note. Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations and has not been charged with any crime. Gaetz previously dismissed allegations that he paid for sex, saying that, quote, someone is trying to recategorize my generosity to ex-girlfriends as something more untoward. Another legal note, Pete Hegseth's lawyer said he paid the woman in 2023 to head off the threat of a baseless lawsuit. He has denied any wrongdoing.
Just call the show Legal Note from now on.
Well, maybe stop lying and you won't have to do that. And then the third day in a row, they had to read it.
Hold on. So they're basically taking a piss out of it, saying
they're
still trying to make it look like we're not doing anything wrong, but we're paying the consequences for.
Yeah, exactly. We have to read this just so we don't get sued for our thoughts. Even though the legal note is literally telling the truth of the matter, that they ain't telling you otherwise.
How about they shut up and talk about real news?
Yeah. Well, I won't play this one, but they had to read a third one for the third day in a row this week as well on Friday. So, but how is this show still on the air? I can't quite understand. This isn't anything new for the show, though. Here's a quick little compilation of them having to do that over the last, how many years this show's even been on the air?
Oh, okay. So You have to read this thing.
Oh, I've got a legal note. I do have a quick legal note.
You got to milk this cow.
Yes, I have a legal note.
You have a legal note again.
Oh, I do. Wow, another one.
So
I have two legal notes. Ginny denied any conflict of interest between her activism and her husband.
So you get the point. They've had to do this over and over and over again because
Is she
these
wearing
heads
like a
won't stop
collared
flying.
shirt?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, she's wearing a collared shirt. That's what you're focusing on right now. But anyway,
And the trash she's spewing from her mouth, Eric.
yeah. I mean, again, stop lying, and you won't have to do that. ABC should cancel this show. It's so stupid. So that being said, this part boggles the mind. Part of this is in part due to the smears like we just saw on The View. Now Trump's Attorney General nominee, Matt Gaetz, has withdrawn his name from the nomination. Matt Gaetz released a statement talking about how there is no time to waste on a needlessly protracted Washington scuffle. Thus, I'll be withdrawing my name from consideration to serve as Attorney General. Trump's DOJ must be in place and ready on day one. Talking about how everything was been a distraction with his investigations with the congressional hearings and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, but, Trump even responded and said, this is what the left does, though. The radical left lunatics do this to people. They dirty them up, they destroy them, and then they spit them out. They are trying that right now with some great American patriots, mostly his appointees, who are only trying to fix the mess the Democrats have made for their country, our country here. So the deep state are trying and fighting hard right now. The left, Democrats and rhinos, and the media vilify Trump and his nominees. But if this were leftist nominees and Democrats tried to appoint them, there would be zero pushback for any of these politicians or so-called journalists. Not to mention, those same politicians are more guilty of crimes than Matt Gaetz has been accused of. I promise you that. And now the media machine are going to use this to claim all the allegations against Matt Gaetz are true. But I doubt it, considering Biden's own Department of Justice didn't find anything and dropped the charges against Matt Gaetz in 2023. However, we did say last week, if what Matt Gaetz is accused of ends up being true, he should face the consequences. Something just doesn't add up here. And Gaetz even responded to Vice President J.D. Vance's words of encouragement and suggested that he still will be a part of the solution in some form or fashion of saving our country. So Matt Gaetz doesn't appear to be going away. So what happened here? Why did Matt Gaetz, get nominated by Donald Trump and then just, dropped out? There could be a few possibilities here. He could have caved to the pressure. Seems kind of unlikely, though, given his record.
Mm-hmm.
Or Trump did Matt Gaetz a solid by nominating him and Gaetz resigning from the current Congress. It closes the congressional investigation into Matt Gaetz, and then he can figure out his options later. So kind of, takes the heat off of him. Or maybe Donald Trump, appointed Matt Gaetz and got the rhinos who won't back him and his appointments and Trump's agenda to raise their heads and expose themselves. These four senators here, Mitch McConnell, Lisa Murkowski, John Curtis, and Susan Collins, basically exposed themselves this week and when they come out and said they would not be supporting Matt Gaetz as the next Attorney General. So we kind of knew that about a couple of them, like McConnell, and things like that. But the rest of them just kind of raised their heads in the grass and went, oh, yeah, we're going to do that too. So now Trump knows who they are. So maybe that happened. But Trump didn't even need their votes and could have appointed Matt Gaetz via a recess appointment anyway. So
it was just for what you just said.
Yeah, if that situation is true,
it was a fishing expedition, and he got his fish.
Exactly. Or there's another option. Maybe Trump cut a deal. Trump could have cut a deal because 5 minutes after Matt Gaetz removed his name from the nomination, news broke of 4 judges will be allowed to be filled by Donald Trump via Chuck Schumer, the current Senate Majority Leader, who's currently stacking lifetime federal court judges with Democrats before he loses control of the Senate in January. No thanks to Senate Republicans who weren't initially showing up for these hearings for these court judges. But Republicans have since tried to block some of these nominees, including a first potential Muslim appellate judge before the deal. Now Trump will get to fill 4 powerful seats, sparking backlash from progressive groups. But maybe that's how he got the ability to do that. Maybe he cut a deal with Chuck Schumer in the Senate, current Senate, and said, I'll withdraw Matt Gaetz. Maybe that's what happened. We don't know. Or less likely.
Mitch McConnell he freezes up a lot.
Yeah, more so than Joe Biden, which is outstanding.
I think he has Alzheimer's.
He's got something. It's not good.
And Alzheimer's is a side effect of Trump derangement syndrome.
Well,
and a lot of politicians have it. Nancy Pelosi, she's on her way to having it.
Chuck Schumer, a bunch of them do. But the less likely scenario, Trump's transition team just fucked up with Matt Gaetz. But I don't buy that, and here's why. On its face, unless there were some method to the madness, this whole thing with Matt Gaetz felt disorganized by the Trump transition team to not know Matt Gaetz would just back out. I don't believe Trump or Matt Gaetz are that stupid.
No.
They both knew the fight it was going to be and what skeletons Matt Gaetz may or may not have had in his closet. Even though Matt Gaetz and everyone is acting like it was the smears that led to this decision. So unless Donald Trump was playing some sort of 5D chess, this appeared initially to be a bad look. But that being said, less than 2 hours after Matt Gaetz stepped down from the nomination, Donald Trump already had another nominee for Attorney General. Former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi lined up to take up the role of the U.S. Attorney General spot. Now, this suggests that this was more of a plan than not. You don't just pick another nominee in less than 2 hours without doing your due diligence, although, granted, Trump has known Pam for years. But the quick shift signals that Trump had to have had Pam Bondi already in mind. So how much of this was planned by Donald Trump already, and he wanted Pam Bondi as his attorney general all along?
The whole thing.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it was to help Matt Gaetz out.
Yeah.
And then he could put her there. He already knew. Like, he already knew.
Yeah, you had to. He's not that stupid. I mean, some people on the left may think he's an idiot, but no, you don't have 4 years to plan for this and just all of a sudden botch it like that. You don't. It doesn't make no sense. Now, what if Bondi was Trump's pick all along and Trump and Gaetz ran through a nomination just to let the deep state get their crying out of the way? You know, the art of the deal, as it were. First, you offer them a deal they think is ridiculous, and then you proceed from there as a starting point.
It's a very good business, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's just business 101. Here's a video of our new potential attorney general for the United States being a complete badass.
These criminals made one very big mistake. They wound up in Polk County. And I'll tell you, it's bad enough in one thing to profit from poisoning others, but it's another when you bring drugs from Mexico into our country, California, Texas, Georgia, and end up in our state and do it with impunity. Because when you're in this country illegally and you're doing things illegally, I want to tell you, and you wind up in Polk County, Grady Judd is going to find you. The DEA is going to help them. And my statewide prosecutors are going to lock you up for as long as we can.
And we're going to enjoy it.
And we're going to enjoy it, he said.
That sheriff, that Polk County sheriff, I watched that shit on YouTube.
Yeah. That's the way you got to handle business, man. And, you know, when she's attorney general, she's going to be able to appoint all the people underneath her that she can, and she's going to get, you know, things done. Did I mention she's also very qualified? Put it this way. The media are already freaking out about Pam Bondi just as much, if not more so, than they did for Matt Gaetz. So that can only be a good sign, in my opinion. Why? Because they think that she's even more qualified than Matt Gaetz was. Here's MSNBC complaining about Pam Bondi.
Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear, because she's competent. We may not agree with her ideologically, but she actually knows how to do this job. So if anyone on the Democratic side or anyone who cared about liberty or justice was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing about immigration. Remember, Florida is one of those states that's been very aggressive about migrants and deportation and moving people to different states and everything else like that. Florida has enacted all sorts of rules and laws to curtail students and what they can do on campuses and finding legal justifications for manipulating education money. She is a dangerous and effective pick, and that's frankly worse than what we would have got with Matt Gaetz, even with the deplorable moral background that he has.
Yeah, and I want to discuss that.
Well, that's his opinion on the moral background part of it. But yeah, if they're thinking that she's a dangerous and effective pick, that's what you call a ringing endorsement. So
First of all, why y'all saying that like it's a bad thing?
Yeah, because it goes against what they want.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why are you saying that's a bad thing?
I know.
Because she's good at her job? That's wild.
Over 20 years of experience as well. So, yeah.
They think it's a bad thing. Anything
it is for them.
Anything aggressive or that will lead to us getting anywhere in the future, they do not like.
It'll be a bad thing. That's what they're going to
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know,
Go ahead, Aaron.
And this kind of adds to, you know how people said that Trump was against women and everything. If he was so against women, why would he be putting women in his cabinet?
Thank you for the
very,
segue.
Very prominent spot.
Again, the misogynistic orange man doing anti-misogynistic things. At this point, it's getting ridiculous. Mark Cuban promised that Trump never has strong, smart women around him ever. I mean, I was promised misogyny, damn it. I mean, leftists, calm down. That's called sarcasm, so just chill. But, yeah, I mean, you're right, Aaron. Absolutely. It goes against that entire narrative. Everybody he's appointing. The Democrats just aren't going to be happy no matter who Trump picks at this point.
No.
You didn't want Matt Gaetz. Well, Trump has to pick somebody, Democrats. Sorry, he does. So the media attacks have begun now on Pam Bondi, but they can't call her misogynist because, well, she's a woman and she has no so-called quote-unquote scandals. So what are they going to go with? She's an election denier who spread the big lie in 2020 because she is a Trump loyalist. That's what they're going with here. But first of all, we mentioned last week that Democrats are trying to turn loyalty into a bad thing now that they're out of office. But remember, Barack Obama's first attorney general, Eric Holder, as pictured here on the right, was appointed by Obama to that spot because he was so loyal to Obama that Holder called Obama his wingman, quote unquote, his wingman.
Yeah.
Wingman. So if loyalty is bad only when Republicans pick the pick, is that a bit hypocritical? I mean,
that's crazy work.
But the Democrats think you're too stupid to remember that Obama did the same thing.
By the way, Republicans gave Obama his gray hair. He didn't come.
Good. By the way, almost all presidents pick and appoint people who are loyal to them in their cabinet.
That's how it works.
It's how it works, guys.
Fun fact.
If that man was born
fun fact.
If-
That was number one, though, when it comes to this.
Doesn't make any sense. Why would you not want people around you can trust?
Yeah, novel concept.
You're not gonna be like, oh well, I need to assemble a team. Oh, let me just go grab Joe Schmo from the Crab Shack and be like, oh, he's gonna be a great fit. I don't know who he is, but he seems cool.
And Trump even admitted that was his
seems
biggest
like
mistake.
Aaron, you
First
put a
term.
fair bit of thought in that.
Like, yeah, you look like a cool guy. Come work for me. Get out.
But again, if Trump is admitting during his first term, his biggest mistake was that he didn't quite know everybody, didn't know who the best people for the job were. Now he knows.
He does
because he's got the experience now. So that's why he's making these picks. So first of all, like I said, loyalty with Holder and Obama, that was a thing. Secondly, though, in this election here, the 2024 election, we had states who were still counting votes this week, 2 weeks later after the election was done. And it turns out most of the races that were still being counted only finished after the Democrat got just enough votes to win that race. These are just the states that, the states were still counting 2 weeks later. California, Arizona, Utah, Washington, Oregon, Georgia, North Carolina.
Blue states.
Pretty much. Yeah, most.
I
There's
just
a
want
few
to
red
point
ones
out
in there.
Utah is not a blue state.
Yeah, there's a few red ones in there. But yeah.
Why is Utah still counting?
Well, because
they're dumb. I don't know what to tell you.
A lot of them were trying to get back Senate seats. For one, I mean, here's just a few examples of races that went the other way. Like, look at this. I mean, Jefferson, and remember, all these examples I'm about to show you here, the Republicans were winning on election night. But if you're counting weeks after election day, something is not right. And obviously 2 weeks later, the Democrat won. Look at the margin. Like less than 100 or some votes here?
Wow.
I mean, what the frack is that? And then California, obviously, that's going to happen because it's California. Again, less than 400 votes.
It's a number.
But that's wild.
But this is what election interference, everybody says, oh, well, the right isn't claiming, that there was rigging this time. Yeah, we are.
Yeah, they are.
It just wasn't Trump.
Yeah.
Or they tried to, but didn't have enough.
Look at that, Matt. See Utah right there? It's all
red.
Brother.
It's all red.
Exactly.
Aaron, I apologize.
So if they're trying to label Pam Bondi as an election denier,
Utah
this is why.
I'm just saying, don't disagree with the guy who's lived there.
Utah was the one different.
Yeah. On top of that, I'm not going to play the video here just for the sake of time, but we actually have video of county commissioners admitting on tape in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, that they counted illegal votes that weren't dated. But no, there's no election interference going on whatsoever. Not to mention, the RNC and Republicans actually got involved here to stop the illegal counting of these votes. And that's exactly why Dave McCormick of Pennsylvania won his Senate race, and the Republican Bob Casey did not. So, yeah, she denied the election. Why? Because there's evidence of it actually being true, whether or not you leftists like to hear it or not. There is, even in 2024. And as we've always said on this show, until voter ID and in-person paper ballots are mandatory across all 50 states, we reserve the right to question the results.
For sure.
That dog just is not going to hunt anymore in regards to smearing Pam Bondi. It's just not. So good luck with that.
Yeah.
But what's next for Matt Gaetz, right? If this was all, part of the plan, right? He resigned from the current Congress last week. Now keep that in mind. The current Congress, the 118th Congress, not the 119th that's about to go in January, which he was also reelected to his seat under. So he could go back to his Congress seat because he was elected to the next one, which Gaetz has already said, though, he's not going to do that. He has no intention of being a congressman anymore. Or Ron DeSantis of Florida could appoint Matt Gaetz to the Senate seat likely to be vacated by Marco Rubio when Rubio joins Trump's cabinet as Secretary of State. But Ron DeSantis has also said he isn't going to do that. So where does that leave Matt Gaetz? Well, Matt Gaetz has said what he does will be, quote, a position from a whole new perch, quote unquote, maybe not, quote, an elected member of government, but he still plans to help save the country. He has been stating that he will expose corruption, treason, and betrayal related to stock trading in Congress. He revealed these quotes in an interview with Charlie Kirk. Something tells me the secret that Matt Gaetz and Donald Trump said that they have at one of the Trump rallies before the election has not been fully revealed yet.
Nope.
So stay tuned. Trust the plan. A lot is happening behind the scenes that you just don't see right now. So, yeah, this is all, as the Joker once said, it's all part of the plan.
That's crazy work.
So you can all think that Trump's a nincompoop, but I'm not so certain of that.
But everybody loses their minds when it's not according to the plan.
Yeah, according to their plan.
Their plan. Yeah, those civilized people.
Yeah, those civilized people. There was one Trump appointment this week that was notable. I thought I'd mention. And that is, of course, what was he? Former WWE CEO Linda McMahon, one of the CEOs. She will be appointed as Secretary of Education, only to go in and most likely dismantle the Department of Education and put it back to the states. But that will be her role. And her daughter, Stephanie McMahon, on X, congratulated her mother for being nominated to the Secretary of Education. She said, your grandchildren will know that you will be a two-time cabinet member under a presidential president here.
Really?
What a legacy for mom there for Stephanie McMahon, for sure. So good for her.
The other one?
Another strong, independent woman.
She was a part of exactly. She was part of Trump's first term. She was also a member of his cabinet then too. So
what was she then?
It might have had something to do with education too, but I don't think she was the secretary of it. I don't think. I'd have to look into it. She might have been. I'll have to look into it. But yeah, she was something.
What's her name?
Linda McMahon, Vince's wife from WWE. Well, wife and name only at this point. They've been separated for a long time.
I was assumed to be ex-wife.
Yeah, but for whatever reason, they haven't gotten.
They've been separated for years. I think it had a lot.
I don't even think they live with each other anymore. To be honest.
No, I think it had a lot to do with the WWE business, is why they were still married but separated.
And now that Vince is out. Yeah.
Former United States Administrator of the Small Business Administration.
That's right, small business. I remember that. Yeah, you're right. Good work there, Aaron. Absolutely. Trump's cabinet is definitely filling up, even in ways that we may not expect. We got a few other stories I thought we'd hit here before the night is out, and we'll move on to tomorrow's football game. Matt mentioned it earlier, I believe. We also have Ellen DeGeneres. She has officially moved to the United Kingdom, saying that she is never coming back to the United States. But let's be clear, Ellen did not move to the United Kingdom to avoid Donald Trump, like she says it. She did it to avoid prison. Any celebrity that is actually holding to their word like they never usually do and leaving the country, it's because they're afraid of the Epstein Diddy lists are going to be coming out and becoming public. Obviously here, as illustrated by one of her old tweets, she is obviously really close with Diddy. And she even called him Cuddle McSnuggle stuff. You don't need to know why. Gee, I wonder why that could be. So Sorry, Ellen. Bye. Don't let the door hit you, where the good Lord split you. I still think she has something to do with Anne Heche's untimely demise too, because she was working to expose some of this stuff that maybe Giddy was involved with. So, but that's a conspiracy theory for you out there. But anyhow,
I think Ellen is guilty.
There's some baby oil involved.
It'll be interesting to see if there's any other celebrities who flee the coop, or as it were, and try to go elsewhere.
Next.
Do you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you really think that Trump is going to release those lists, or is that more of a hoax?
I hope so.
I don't think that's in his control at this point.
Some of it might be. It might be an AG thing, maybe Pam Bondi. I'm not sure, but it can be done.
It's a federal case.
Releasing the list. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, Trump was going to release the JFK files too, but was advised not to. But now Trump thinks this is the right time. We'll see if he actually does some of this stuff, but let's hope so, because all these people need to be brought to justice, for the stuff that they've done, especially if they've been lying to the American people. Sure, no doubt about it. But we also got weird Rachel Zegler, the Snow White actress, as I alluded to earlier. Did not take the election well. She was on her Instagram basically trashing Donald Trump and his supporters shortly after the election was over, littered with terrible remarks. I won't read all of it because it would take a long time here, but in summary, she said, "May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace." Basically, vilifying anybody who would support him and all this sort of stuff, talking about how he's a threat to democracy, all this sort of stuff.
And this
even so far,
shot at.
Yeah, stuff like that. And at the very end of one of her posts, she even wrote, "Fuck Donald Trump." So again, very hateful rhetoric from the supposed tolerant Democratic left, for sure here. But now she's apologizing because apparently probably the overlords of Disney probably got a hold of her. I will read this. She said that, "Hi, everyone. I'd like to sincerely apologize for the election post I shared from my Instagram last week. I let my emotions get the best of me. Hatred and anger have caused us to move further and further away from peace and understanding, and I am sorry I contributed to the negative discourse. This week has been emotional for many of us, but I firmly believe that everyone has the right to their opinion, even when it differs from my own. I am committed to contributing positively toward a better tomorrow." So I don't know if anybody buys that BS, but it's because she got caught. Let's be honest. So,
Aaron, you still there?
Yeah.
These people that post this shit that Eric's talking about, you can't tell me they live in a real world with real problems.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that they Aaron said this a couple weeks ago. Those people live in fairy tale land. They will never know what real hardship is.
No.
Ever.
No, and she thinks
they're being fed with a silver spoon, and they think that that's right. And those are the people that Trump needed to get to.
Yeah, and it's starting to work, I hope. But we'll see where it takes them. But the ironic thing about this is, though, at least be consistent, Disney. I mean, Gina Carano was fired from The Mandalorian for far less when she stated that if we aren't careful, our society could end up like how the Nazis turned everyone against one another, which is true, by the way. She didn't speak any lie. And Disney called this post where she stated, "Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers, to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jewish. How is that any different from hating someone for their political views?" Valid point. But Disney saw that and said that was abhorrent and unacceptable, and they fired her from The Mandalorian because of it. Tell me where she said anything wrong there. She was just stating that if we ain't careful, we could end up to that point. Hopefully our discourse doesn't get to that point, but she was right. But here's Rachel Zegler and her snotty little statement, I should say, about her apology here.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
She almost sounded like she was sure that people would wait in line to see no matter what. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I buy this. I don't.
Even if I was a moviegoer, I'm definitely not going to see this.
No, I'm not either.
If I'm going to see Snow White, I'm going to see Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Not the seven, whatever they call themselves, fairies.
7 diversity hires is what they were eventually, or at one point.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm just saying that in an attempt to include a bunch of races and stereotypes, they exclude the one minority that this whole story is about.
Which is?
Dwarves.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. Well, not only that, the whole story of Snow White was supposed to be because her skin was white as snow, right? But not so much in this case because we have to change that. Not only that, Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot have both been on camera stating that in this particular film, the prince is not going to save Snow White like he did in the original classic. And now there are reports, like I said earlier, out there that Snow White is actually going to be the one to save the prince in the film because, girl power. You got to. Again, this is one of those things where Disney is going to wokeify it. Now, granted, this was made years ago, and they're finally going to bring it out because they kind of have no choice. They got to make some kind of money off of it if they can. But this film is going to bomb so hard. It's not even going to be funny. I mean, even if they put this thing on Disney Plus, I bet it wouldn't get the views.
It's not out yet?
No, it's coming out in March.
Oh, my Jesus.
So this is going to be a train wreck. Yeah, to say the least. This is going to be bad.
Well, start buying your stock in Universal, folks.
Well, I don't think Disney's going away necessarily, but
Eric,
no, go ahead.
Be careful what you wish for.
Oh, well, we'll see. On top of Rachel Zegler, though, we have other celebrities apparently losing their minds. LeVar Burton from Star Trek, Mark Hamill from Star Wars, George Takei also from Star Trek, and LeBron James, among other liberal snowflakes, are fleeing X now and are running to an app called Blue Sky. When liberals cannot compete in the arena of ideas where free speech is allowed, like on X, they flee to their next echo chamber. Mark Hamill, in particular, made this known this week in a crazy statement because they feel they have to announce it in some grand way for some reason now. I don't know why. His statement also read, "I fled Leon's site for bluer skies." He's poking fun at Elon by calling him Leon. Haha. Very clever there, Mark. And apparently they are now traveling to a new app, as I mentioned, named Blue Sky, which looks a lot like the old Twitter logo, but instead of the bird, it's a butterfly now.
That looks like a gay men's chatting site.
Wow. But Blue Sky is you heard him. I can't even.
So, but isn't this made by the original Twitter guy?
The guy who owned Twitter, Jack Dorsey, is the one who originally started Blue Sky. So it's basically X for liberals right now because there's no pushback.
I think the animated group that's known as Blue Sky should sue.
Well, that company is unfortunately no longer in existence. It shut down once Disney bought Fox. But don't worry. Don't worry. I say 6 is still coming regardless, but that'll be under a different company. But so yeah, now that Elon Musk bought Twitter and rebranded it as X, though, now it's a level playing field with everybody having their opinions heard, and liberals cannot handle it. So they are now running to the next safe space where they get zero critical pushback on their radical ideas. And do you know how I know it's an echo chamber and not just some other place they can go to talk like X? It's because new users are being banned for stating facts such as there are only 2 genders, as this person does here. And within seconds of posting the update to the account, and as South Park would say, it's gone. Content warning, now blocked. So, but you might be asking yourself, how is this any different than conservatives running to Rumble or Truth Social, though? The difference is Rumble and Truth Social were created because conservatives were actually being censored and silenced and banned for their opinions and ideas on Twitter and YouTube and things like that, labeled as hate speech or misinformation. While liberals in this hand are welcome on Rumble and Truth. Conservative ideas were not welcome on YouTube and Twitter, and they were kicked off for their ideas. Same thing happening on Blue Sky right now, where conservatives are being kicked off or banned. That's the difference. Liberals are not being censored on X. They're just not. So this is another.
That's got to make for boring conversations.
Yeah, everybody just agrees with you at all times. Now, granted, I understand the show. us on this show, obviously, we're the ones who are doing the show, but we welcome discourse in the comments and stuff. If you guys,
we have discourse amongst ourselves about shit, though.
That's true too. So yeah, I mean, we usually pretty aligned with. Well, yeah, not always with politics, not always.
No, but like oh man. Eventually, what's going to happen is going to eat itself. Like, you can't have that many ideas that far out the box before it starts to cannibalize itself.
No.
I think we as Americans, or just people, and just around the world, because I'm pretty sure this is around the world, we just don't hear about it from other nations, is that we don't know how to disagree with somebody without making it a big deal. Or without
making that person the enemy. Yeah.
Without making it personal, period.
Yeah.
Like there's no differentiating a difference in opinion without seeing it as a personal attack.
Yeah, there's not. And that's got to change. It really does. Now, I'm all for not, unifying with people who think you're Hitler or racist, because no, there's certain things I don't think you can unify on.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain lines that just you can't bridge that, divide.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I mean, I've got family and friends who don't believe the same way I do. And I think we get along pretty well. Do we have our disagreements? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't try to, break up total friendships and family relationships over it. I'm not doing like the psychiatrist on the left-wing media saying, don't go visit family for Thanksgiving because you may not agree on politics. We usually just don't talk about politics much, or we move on,
He got his
But there are certain things that you can't, come together.
He must have gotten a psychiatrist degree from Caltech.
Hey.
Damn.
Hater.
I'm gonna be the one to bring Jesus into this, but he
Please
said that
bring
we love everybody. He didn't say that we had to agree with you.
Yeah,
but we still had to love you.
Well, it's also one of those deals where, and this goes with a lot of political things too, where yes, Jesus said to love everybody, but Jesus also did not say condone their sin.
No.
That's the part that people like, especially on the LGBTQ community, don't want to talk about. It's too sensitive. Oh, well, Jesus said love everybody. Love is love. No, the Bible is very clear. It is not, homosexuality is a sin. You're cherry picking what you want out of the Bible because it suits your narrative. Mm-hmm. Jesus would say, yes, you should love that person, but also don't accept their sin. Why? People don't want to talk about that now. Why? Because it steps on people's toes. That's the difference. We've taken that out of Bible preaching in a lot of churches nowadays. It's sad. But moving on, though. Judge Merchan, apparently in New York, has apparently adjourned and postponed Donald Trump's November 26th sentencing, and he kicked the can down the road indefinitely. But the case is not dismissed or finalized. Trump's team will be filing a motion to dismiss the case altogether, and Judge Merchan has agreed to hear the request. But New York District Attorney Alvin Bragg is willing to revisit the case as late as 2029 after Donald Trump's second term has ended. Everything is just on hold in this case right now, despite what social media may be saying on either side. But what this does mean as of right now is this. The case is irrelevant at the moment. And as Brandon has pointed out multiple times here on this channel, technically, since there is no sentencing, Donald Trump, as of right now, is not a convicted felon. At least yet. Because you have to be sentenced before that becomes true. So anytime you hear anyone on the media or elsewhere, friends, family, whatever, that try to tell you that Trump is a 34-time convicted felon, they are either lying to you or they are ignorant about what they're talking about.
That 34-time convicted felon's my president.
Well, again, he's not convicted. He's not sentenced.
That's just my opinion. And you guys can hate my opinion.
At least yet.
My opinion.
This could, maybe they come back to this in 4 years after he's done, and they do throw his ass in jail at 83. But right now, it's irrelevant.
This is
likely to get dismissed.
Point. Yeah, this is a talking point. They're gonna beat this over the head until they can't anymore, and then
it'll go the way of the dodo. It'll go by the wayside most likely. So yeah,
it usually does.
Also, this week we had the sentencing for Laken Riley's illegal immigrant rapist murderer. He was found guilty on all 10 counts. Horrible. And if you heard any of the audio or seen any of the footage, you know how tragic this was. And I will not be playing the audio, and I will not be playing or showing the footage because it's sickening. God rest this poor young girl's soul. But I will play the sentencing of this asshole.
Count 1, malice murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 2, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 3, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 4, felony murder. I find the defendant guilty. Count 5, kidnapping with bodily injury. I find the defendant guilty.
And I won't go through all of them, but he was found guilty on all 10 counts. And he has now been sentenced to life in prison without parole. So think about this. $30,000 of your taxpayer dollars annually are being used to keep this animal alive. That's the rough estimate of what it takes to keep somebody like this alive. This scum deserves far worse. He deserves the death penalty and may still get it once Donald Trump gets back in office, if you ask me.
Deserves a death penalty. He'd send him adrift.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, Donald Trump has openly stated he'll make it law that any illegal who kills a citizen will get the death penalty.
Yep.
If so, this case may get revisited at some point down the line. These are the animals Donald Trump is speaking of when he's discussing deportations. This cannot happen again, hence the mass deportations that are about to take place.
Shouldn't have happened to begin with.
No, it shouldn't have.
Shouldn't happen to begin
That's the whole
with.
point. And like I said, if you've heard or seen any of the stuff in this case, this guy deserves to burn. And one day I believe he will. No doubt. But
my position to judge, that's somebody else's.
But this is a video from our friend over at LV Nation, which is a YouTube channel I've not brought up here before. But he presents a video where ABC News is trying to defend the Biden administration on immigration.
Ladies and gentlemen, is that ABC legitimately they did this after after finding Laken Riley's murderer guilty. Watch what they did on the air.
This death of Laken Riley and the subsequent trial has essentially been a massive political lightning rod here in this country. And you said it there yourself, the president-elect campaigning on the death of Laken Riley and pointing to the current administration, saying that their laws and what they're calling failed policies contributed to Laken Riley's death.
They did.
I want to remind you that Ibarra entered this country illegally in 2022, according to law enforcement officials, and he was paroled and released for further processing by ICE. And since that time he entered the country, he was arrested another time. Law enforcement officers saying that he was arrested in 2023 in New York City and charged with acting in a manner to injure a child less than 17, as well as a motor vehicle violation.
God.
It's important to note that
and released.
But what's the but, ABC? Yeah. What's the but on this?
You're proving our point.
But once again, ladies and gentlemen, the mainstream media doing what the mainstream media does best.
Vehicle violation. But it's important to note that although there is very little evidence indicating a connection between immigration and violent crime, this is
bullshit.
Something that President-elect Trump, several Republicans on the Hill wanted to essentially plant their flag on and point that to the current Biden administration.
Because
it's
true.
That even as early as President Biden's latest State of the Union address, where Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene infamously interrupted President Biden, forcing him to acknowledge that
this is a bad hill to die on.
No shit.
No, really?
That Democrats are dying on.
Death of Laken Riley, something that President Biden did by holding up a pin in her during that State of the Union. But it is important to note that all of this vitriol that we're hearing from Republicans and President-elect Trump regarding the policies of the Biden administration, it's important to know that President-elect Trump did force Republicans to essentially tank a bipartisan border security bill.
Every time.
That both sides of the aisle said would have essentially addressed border security and immigration issues, Kira.
Wrong on both counts. Because number one, he mentioned that Joe Biden was forced to mention Laken Riley's name. Yeah, he mentioned her name all right after Marjorie Taylor Greene shouted it out at him. But then Joe Biden butchered her name and called her Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, she got booed for that.
He should.
No, she got booed for that.
Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal.
Yeah, he called her Lincoln. So imagine the disrespect her family felt just there alone. that he had it on a freaking pen. He could have just read it, but no, he screwed that up. Number one. Number two,
he screwed up a lot of things.
Yeah, this bipartisan border bill that the Democrats love to keep bringing up, that Donald Trump stopped. We've discussed many times before why it's a bad bill and didn't solve anything. Hence why Trump shut it down. This right here, it gave $60 billion to Ukraine, $14 billion to Israel, $10 billion to Gaza, only $20 billion for border security.
No.
It's still allowed 5,000 migrants per day to enter the United States, a total of 1.8 million per year. It gave immediate work permits to anyone who claimed asylum, granted $50,000 extra, 50,000 extra green cards, I should say, per year. 1.4 billion to NGOs. The bill would have exempt families from detention centers, and bill would be in effect until 2029. So even Donald Trump could not change it. So of course Donald Trump
passed.
No, he got shot down.
Okay,
almost every single Republican. Although they love to say this was a bipartisan border bill, which means it had support by Democrats and Republicans both. Right? That's what that means.
What Republicans supported that?
Here's the thing: it was not bipartisan, but they keep saying it is. Only one independent voted for it: Angus King Jr. out of Maine. Now, more importantly, only one Republican voted for it. The rest were all Democrats. Don't believe me? Go check the voter roll on this bill. Senator Lisa Murkowski from Alaska. We just talked about her earlier on in this show as being one of the 4 senators who would not approve Matt Gaetz. So, well. I mean, come on now.
Look at the GIF to the left.
But because one Republican, Rhino Republican in this case, who actually doesn't represent Republicans or Donald Trump and the MAGA movement, voted for it, the media and Democrats love to say the bill was bipartisan, as if it had sweeping Republican support, but it never did. It's all lies.
Wait,
I bet you she loved this.
How can this be considered an immigration bill when the top 3 things are about giving money to other countries and have nothing to do with border security?
Exactly.
$60 billion is a lot of cash.
Yeah. Now I'm sure they got that money elsewhere anyway. I think they ended up passing another bill with that included that didn't have the border stuff in it. So they still got their money.
Ukraine and get some of that?
You know, kidding. Yeah, you need to designate your house Ukraine territory.
I wouldn't go anywhere near Ukraine right now.
It's crazy work.
No.
I wouldn't leave.
I'm not going anywhere near Ukraine.
But
obviously, motherfucker, you don't
this is why many people in Congress have, especially Republicans and conservatives, are saying every bill that gets brought to the floor should be one issue and one issue only, not all the pork in it. That's why when like the bipartisan supposed, even though it wasn't, bill got shot down, then Democrats can run all over the place saying, see, Republicans don't want border security, when clearly that had nothing to do with why the fucking thing got shut down to begin with.
Because it takes too long. It takes too long for them to do this.
Yeah, but nobody wants to look into the details, and they count on the fact that you're an ignorant American who won't look into this stuff.
Yeah.
That's what they count on. And they want to say that Republicans are the evil ones. Kiss my big, fat, white, rosy ass.
They pull out talking points.
If it's rosy, I think that's a skin condition. You probably should
that looked at.
But despite all of this, Joe Biden wants to make it easier for illegal migrants to enter the country during his last 2 months in office. Here's a video of Joe Biden trying to make it easier. That was from Fox News.
Sandra, the Biden administration is quietly loosening immigration policies before Trump takes office. This according to the New York Post. It reports the administration is testing a new app that will allow illegal migrants to bypass in-person check-ins at their local ICE office. Jeff Paul is live with more. It sounds like they're just...
So basically, the gist of it is now you could sign in on the app and you just get to walk into the country. You don't even have to meet anybody in person to do it.
That's crazy.
And you'll be allowed right in. So Joe Biden wants to just make this more easy so more Laken Rileys can happen. Fuck that old man. I'm sorry. I'm done with him.
That's crazy.
January 20th can't come. Digger asked us last week or the week before when President Trump got elected, if what good things we could think of the Biden administration could have possibly done. I can't. There's nothing. This guy's an asshole. I'm sorry. Him and Kamala, both of them. But the left is already saying they're going to fight Trump on the deportation here. They're already hard at work on CNN trying to demonize Trump for this. And of course, Scott Jennings is the one voice of reason in the room.
Promise you with every fiber of my being, because I'll probably be one of those people, that if anybody comes for these people and tries to drag them out by force, there will be protests of people like me, American citizens, who are going to stand there and do everything possible to prevent these women and children, which is all who these people are.
How about the criminals? How about the terrorists? How about the
But how do you stop? How do you know who it is?
That's the problem.
Stop. I'm sorry. I live next to these people. I can tell you they are women and they are children. Are there terrorists among them?
And you're okay with this?
I can tell you that there.
Neither does the government.
But I can tell you. But let me tell. Okay. But what I'm telling you right now, practically speaking, is that there will be people, American citizens, who will prevent these little kids from being dragged out of these shelters. There are. And what's going to happen to these people? What is going to happen to the military when the military opens fire on us?
But no one's.
Can you say? She had to take it there, did she?
How it works.
She's now suggesting the military will fire upon, U.S. citizens, even though the U.S. citizens are not the ones being deported. It's the illegals.
She made an interesting point. She said that some U.S. citizens would take these children so that way they won't get deported. Sure, they will. Take them right to Diddy's house.
Wow, you made up.
Okay, that was really
that was wild, as Brandon would say.
No, not really. He's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
What they were used for.
The reason they want them in here. They want them in here for trafficking. They're undocumented so that they can filter and fuel their trafficking sites wherever they are.
Yep.
Yeah. We've got 300,000 plus missing children. We have no idea where they are or if they're alive or dead. And Tom Homan here had talked about he's going to try to find them. But we've also got, just like that woman who's talking about how they're going to be protests to prevent this from happening. Governors like California's Gavin Newsom, Illinois' J.D. Pritzker, and Arizona's Katie Hobbs here at the top are talking like they are going to fight this. But I recommend listening to the new border czar right down below after this comment before you try to obstruct the law.
We will not be participating in misguided efforts that harm our communities. And I've been incredibly clear about that.
So you disagree with mass deportations and the fact that the president-elect says that's what he's going to be working on day one?
Good.
Well, I think that those efforts are going to divert needed resources that we need here.
They need to educate themselves. They need to
Child sex trafficking.
Title 8, United States Code 1324, triple I. Read about that and don't cross that line because it is a felony to harbor and conceal an illegal alien from ICE. Read the statute, don't cross that line.
So what he's trying to say here, just remember, if you try to stop the enforcement of the law and prevent these deportations, you are then aiding and abetting a criminal and thus breaking the law yourself.
Yep.
And under the law, you should be arrested as well. Do you liberals who try to prevent the government from trying to enforce the law, are you hearing that right now?
And here's the thing.
You better think about it.
You fuckers dealt with a lot of little county jails and shit. If it's a federal crime,
you don't go to
federal crime, bruh.
You're going to be
what is it Harvey Dent says in Batman? We were talking about Batman earlier. How long do they calculate they're going to last in there?
Yeah, exactly. But it's just anytime you aid and abet a criminal, you're going to go to jail too. This is the exact same thing. Falls under that same thing. So yeah, go ahead. Go out there and protest and try to stop the military from doing their job. See how that goes for you. I promise you it's not going to go your way.
Sorry, I chimed in at the wrong time.
Oh, you're fine.
But yet that's another example of somebody being asked a yes or no question.
They're not answering the question.
They don't answer it with a yes or no.
Oh yeah. You can't do that politically.
Just say I could not be. I mean, I think it would be interesting to be a moderator because I would not let them leave the question until they give me a yes or no.
Well, you wouldn't last long, unfortunately.
I know. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
I agree.
I'm
with you.
If they try to skate around it, I'd be like, no. My question was yes or no.
That's it. I agree with you.
Both sides. I'd be like, the question is yes or no.
Yeah. Yes or no. But the media is continually trying to vilify these deportations, even though the presidents who have deported more illegals in the modern era than anyone else were Democrats.
I do believe that's the same chart that Trump was looking at when he was shot at.
No, this isn't
the crime one.
Illegal crossings. Yeah. This is deportations by president.
Yeah.
Okay. 12. Now, this doesn't show Bill Clinton's, but Bill Clinton's was even higher. This is just within the last 20 years or so. But Bill Clinton's was even higher. 12 million illegals were deported under Bill Clinton and 3 million under Barack Obama specifically. Obama has the most deportations in the last 20 years, but just because it's Donald Trump, they're going to use this to attack him by saying it's racist or too expensive or some nonsense, when it's actually nothing new. But the Democrats are going to clutch their pearls and cry victimhood like they always do. However, right now, there is a massive migrant caravan headed for America as we speak up from Mexico. These people are on their way here in hopes of trying to get here before Donald Trump gets back in office, likely only to then be deported by Donald Trump afterwards, I guess, because
5 of those people look scary.
Well, at least some of these are bringing women and children. Therefore, before we always saw was military-aged men.
Yeah, what do you think they're bringing the kids for?
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. It's yeah, but this is
bye. Yeah, bye.
I mean, Mexico was putting a stop to this at one point. Now all of a sudden we're allowing these people are crossing.
He's telling me I'll see you back in January.
So yeah, this is again, just another, Trump Biden issue here with Biden, saying he wants to have a peaceful transition, but between a potential World War III, appointment blocking, and now this, Democrats are trying their best to give Donald Trump the biggest mess possible.
Yeah.
As I said, evil will not go away quietly. It's going to go away kicking and screaming. So much for that smooth transition, Joe? But let's end the podcast on a happy note, though. We got a video from Vivek Ramaswamy. Him and Elon Musk have been tapped to reach to lead DOGE, which is the Department of Government Efficiency. And now Vivek has said that he and Elon are going to be hosting a weekly podcast discussing their progress in the DOGE department. So let's listen to what he has to say here.
As part of that process, I'm now all in. I'm focused on making sure that we actually accomplish the goal rather than just talking about it. So to that end, for the next little bit, I'm going to put a pause on the weekly Truth podcasts. I've enjoyed doing it this year. It's been incredibly fun and entertaining. I've learned from a lot of the guests, and I've enjoyed communicating with all of you. We're going to put that on pause for a little bit. And as you may have heard, Elon and I are going to start a separate track of Dogecasts that explain exactly what we're doing to the public to provide transparency in what is a once-in-a-generation project. We want to bring the public along with us, to lift the curtain, to take us behind the scenes of what actually that waste, fraud, and abuse in government looks like. However bad you think it is, it's probably worse.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't want to do this to just expose the problem. We want to do it to solve the problem. So stay tuned. We're going to have more information about when those Dogecasts are going to begin. We are neck deep right now in transitioning to the new dawn on January 20th. But in the meantime, I thank all of you for your journey this year, for joining.
So all that. So that's good. Dogecast just kind of has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? I mean, definitely marketable. But last week we jokingly mentioned this, but didn't really think too much of it. But apparently there are now reports that Elon Musk and Donald Trump Jr. are likely to purchase MSNBC. It all stems from this tweet where Donald Trump Jr. said, "Hey, Elon, I have the funniest idea ever." And Elon Musk replied, "How much does it cost?" Now, for those of you who don't know, that's the exact same response that Elon Musk tweeted when he was asked whether or not he would buy Twitter. And, well, we kind of know how that went. So likely to buy MSNBC? I don't know, but just saying, history may be repeating itself here. So yeah. So what could Elon Musk do? XTV?
It could be the largest troll ever.
Could be. Either way.
Because he responded the same way he did when he bought Twitter, and he knew people would point that out.
Oh, exactly. So,
or, I mean, he also did say he wants to put X in every home on every screen.
And well, better way. He said X is going to be media, like all forms of media, he said at one point.
So, yeah.
So, and that would include television. So, or streaming or whatever it might be.
I said earlier in this podcast, Elon is the future.
Elon is.
Oh yeah. Right now, he's the brightest mind we have right now. I think.
Right now, he is the future, and I made this comparison to Brandon. Me and Brandon, we talked about this, and I think I mentioned Derek too. Elon is a modern day Tony Stark.
Well,
without the
one's a real character, the other a fictional character.
Yeah, Brandon's got it. I was just about to say.
Sure, but I see your point.
But I get what you mean.
Yeah, I get. Yeah.
I'll say this though to wrap it up: the first thing that Elon and Don Jr. should do. The first thing that Elon and Don Jr. should do if they do end up purchasing MSNBC as Comcast sells it, is immediately fire Mark Cuban lookalike Rachel Maddow, Jen Peppermint Patty Circleback Psaki, Joe Scarborough, Mike Brzezinski, and Mika Brzezinski, and Joy Reid.
Nope.
So
you make them work for you and then repeat all the lines that you give.
All the nerds.
Yeah, I know.
It's Anchorman type shit.
Yeah. But yeah, so hopefully, we're on the right track to making America better again as I wrap the show.
You know how funny that
would be? It'd be hilarious.
Oh my
God. That studio is basically wasted space anyway. Yeah. I mean, not many people watch it outside of us who point out the hypocrisy and the idiocy every single week on the show. YouTube shows love to discuss it, but
who has?
I wonder if any Democrat candidates will go on X and do interviews.
No, it'll be like Fox. They'll boycott it.
They'll boycott it because
they won't.
Little ratty.
Because again, the arena of ideas, they can't compete, so they'll run.
You know how type of money you got to have to go.
They'll do it on the butterfly or whatever that is.
Like real talk to just be like. Hey, there's a whole TV syndicate station you can buy.
Later.
And the response is, how much is it? That's wild.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so I guess that'll do it for the show tonight. It's been a long one. Meant to be a little shorter. It ended up being a little longer than normal. But anyway, as is life.
Still shorter.
Well, we were about 3.5 last week. We were a little longer, but not too much. We're still better than 5 hours. Well, last week was 5 hours. He actually said bye before he left too. So bye. All right, but before we go, I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
As we will not have a show next week. I'll be away visiting family, and I'm sure many of you will be visiting your families as well. So have a happy Thanksgiving, and I guess with that, we'll just close out the show. Please hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to comment, all that sort of good stuff. Also, don't forget to follow us on Rumble, follow us on YouTube, whatever it might be, wherever you're watching this. Please continue to do so, and we hope to see you guys in 2 weeks' time. Take care.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.